just want to say that I now live in a neighborhood, and I didn't get, not that I was expecting any. We did have our porch lights off, but I didn't have one trick or treater, not even one that tempted to come down, knock on the door.
That's because they've heard the rumors.
What rumors?
The rumors about you and about kids disappearing around your house. You're basically Freddy Krueger.
Man, if kids like came to this house with all the candy I have and the video games and fucking,
you'd shove them in your boiler room.
Fucking parents would be like, man, we don't see our kids anymore, man. I always want to go to your house. Fuck. Wish I could be a better dad.
Rip.
And on the flip side of that coin, last night was Halloween. I didn't get any candy. I'm more upset about that.
Man,
than not having to hand out.
You want some candy, man? I got like 400 bags of candy over at my house. It isn't.
I've got so much right now too.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So the thing about
oh my God.
Think about having kids, man. You're gonna have way more candy than you know what to do with.
Good. I already have plans. I'm gonna wear the fuck out of my kids. Like they're gonna get home after school. I'm going to already have taken the day off or half the day off so I can have their costume shit ready. I'm going to get them ready, and it's like 4:30 out the door. Dad, it's not even nighttime. Shut up. Get out of here. Why do we have 7 bags, Dad? Just shut up. Let's go.
It's like the first 4 are for me.
Yeah, because when we get back, I'm going to find like a salad bowl. Dump. There you go. There's yours.
It's like, you could have this generic Tootsie Roll. Yeah, you can have that crap. I'm going to take this Snickers bar right here. And yeah, let's see this Reese's.
Nobody wants this shitty orange and black candy, Dad. Nobody eats this shit.
This
You will.
This is candy corn right here. That's got your name on it, buddy boy.
Oh, man.
Worst dad ever.
Hey, think about it. I'm saving my kids from a horrible life of cavities.
Yeah.
I'm doing them a favor.
Yeah. It's one of those backhanded favors. It's like, here, let me just go ahead and take this off your hands, buddy. I don't want you to get your hurt. I don't want you to hurt yourself.
Were you all out pretty late for Halloween festivities?
No, we got back early.
The window here was like 6 to 8 or something like that. So we were out for about an hour and a half of it.
Wow.
And stopped. And right at 8 we stopped, and my daughter's little pumpkin basket thing she had was full. Like, we skipped the last house because it was completely full. It was way more than she's ever gotten.
It's like, we don't have pockets. We can't handle this one last house. That'll just break this little bucket ring. Yeah. It's over with.
I think Halloween for me is not one of those events that has like a weird time distortion when I think back on it, because I used to always feel like I was out trick-or-treating for hours on end, and every time I asked my mom and dad about it, they're like, no, we were out for like an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most.
Kid time.
But I remember we used to go to like 2 different apartment complexes and a house thing, and I'm like, okay, with all that, we had to have been out, and they're like, no, we would, like, your mom would walk you to the driveway, you would walk up the driveway, get the candy, and your mom would already be walking to the next house, and I would be in the car just driving down the road. Like, we didn't spend all this time. I'm like, man, I still got all that candy? Damn, I was good.
Yeah, my dad, Go ahead. My dad, he always kept a bag in his truck, and he kept telling me to empty it out. So every time I go to a house, it looked like my basket was empty, so I'd get more candy.
Mm-hmm. That's how my mom and dad did it. They had they put like a big ass garbage bag in the back seat of the car, and I would just dump it in the fucking garbage bag. And yeah, I would have like a grocery bag at a time, but. Man.
Yeah, my parents were those like horrible parents that were like too scared to let us wander in the neighborhood, so they took us to the mall, made us stand in line for 6 hours to get like the Tootsie Rolls, 20,000 Tootsie Rolls from the department stores. Yeah.
I used to get offended as a kid if I would go to a business and like even if it was like a gas station and they didn't have candy to give out, they're like, "Come on, kid, you think we get like 500 customers in here an hour? We don't have that kind of candy." I'm like, "Come on, man, You got like a whole aisle of candy over there. Just let me go pick what I want.
Knocking on like Willy Wonka's door, and he like tosses a Skittle at you and says, "Savor it."
It's like, you get nothing. I remember there used to be a bit of drama when I was a kid at one of those apartment complexes. You know how some apartments are like, it'll be 4 rooms on the bottom, and then you go upstairs and 4 more rooms on the top. Yeah. And I used to I'd hit the bottom rooms, go upstairs and hit the top ones. And my mom never really paid close attention. I mean, she watched what I was doing, for me to get snatched or something, but she didn't have like a mental fucking note of houses you can't go to. Well, one of these ladies, I don't know, she wasn't a Christian lady. She was something else, but she would always keep her porch light on. But she had a sign on her door at least every year, if not every other year. And it was up where a fucking adult head could read it, but a kid's couldn't. And it was like, there's no candy here. Don't knock on my door, blah, blah, blah. And I don't fucking know, man. I'm a kid. I'm booking. I'm running 90 to nothing. And I'd fucking ring the doorbell because the porch light was on. This lady would come out and be like, I will fucking hang on, you kids. Buy your fucking iPod. And I remember my mom having to go and talk to this lady. I say talk, but I think it was a big argument. And it was basically a big common sense thing. Like, look, you've got kids all over this. You have hundreds of kids coming to your place, and you have the code light on. You have your porch light on. Like, what the fuck is your problem? This is blah, 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 blah. I think that, honestly, is about the only problem I ever had trick-or-treating. Did y'all have any bad experiences trick-or-treating?
Yeah, I actually had one last night. It's pretty bad. Had a bunch of, I spend a good amount of my time, got my front porch all set up like a little hooch where I can sit there and smoke, relax after work, kind of stuff like that. Yeah. Some kids came up on there last night, had the porch light off, which is, as you said before, like the universal symbol for I ain't got shit, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And these little kids, man, they ransacked my porch. I had like some stuff sitting out there, and they were like snatch, 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 snatch.
Wow.
Yeah, my thing is like, they didn't knock on the door. The dog started barking, which alerted me to somebody being outside. So I opened up the door, and they go trick or treat, like, and I'm like, no, I ain't got nothing. Like, oh, okay, and they scurry off real fast. A couple hours pass. I go check out there. All my shit's gone. Like, wow, kids, that's fucking ruthless. So,
I like candy, but come on, man, have some fucking courtesy,
right? So, yeah, I gotta go buy some stuff tomorrow. Yeah.
So, I remember another time. This is actually kind of a funny, cool story. It wasn't for me at the time when it happened. So, one of the neighborhoods that I was trick or treating at, there was a house at the end of kind of a cul-de-sac. It was kind of one of the rich houses that had its own little giant yard to itself. It was fairly lit, fairly decorated, but everything was like orange and yellow in color. And at nighttime, it's just an eerie setting about this house. And it was kind of a long walk. Like I said, my mom didn't walk with me all the way up to the house, but so she sat back. She's like, "Go on ahead." So I went walking up this 4,000-foot driveway and just trying to get just kind of creeped out, but not really. It wasn't super horror. It wasn't super horror themed. It was just a lot of cobwebs and some low eerie music playing. Like they put a little bit of time and effort into this decoration. And I'm walking, no other kids around, so I'm walking by myself. And it was one of those porch situations, kind of like yours, Adam, where it's like a driveway and there's like some bushes to the right. Mm-hmm. So the porch, and there's like if you walk straight up the driveway, you would run into the door. But to the right of the door is like a little porch area. In front of the porch area is some bushes. So as I was walking up this driveway, I saw a giant fucking pumpkin. So I thought it was just a giant pumpkin, but the light wasn't on. I was like, all right, maybe the light's off. And again, I'm a kid, so I'm not seeing over the bush. I'm seeing what looks like this giant pumpkin that's on top of the bush. The closer and closer I get, my perspective clears, and I can see that this is like something is on the porch. Like, okay, well, maybe it's on a table. I get around the bush, and no, it's a giant fucking, like, scarecrow stuffed thing on the porch with a giant pumpkin, like a legit pumpkin on its head, as a head. And I'm looking at this thing, and like I reach up and ring the doorbell, and I've got my eyes glued to this thing because the detail is crazy. Like it's well proportioned for a human. It's fucking big. The stuffing is like poking out at weird places. The pumpkin head is like tilted down, and there's like a big ass like straw hat. I'm like, dude, this is fucking pretty cool looking. And then the head just looks at me, and I shit all over their driveway as I ran back screaming like a little girl to my nothing crazy, guys. All right, he didn't like brandish a knife and go ooga booga. All he did was turn his fucking head and look in my direction. And of course that fucking made him feel sad. He got up and pulled his fucking. He's like, yeah, just happy Halloween. It was some like 60-year-old dude, and I was like, I fucking hate you. I didn't even want the candy. My mom had to go up there and get the candy for me. Fuck that, man.
Mm-hmm. It's like time to go home
for life ever since.
Time to go home.
That is essentially what I look for when I look for scary movies today is subtlety. Mm-hmm. I don't need the jump scares and the like let's play the violin, like build it and then I don't need that. Subtle shit like that terrifies me. I remember seeing a movie back in the day, Strangers. I don't know if y'all seen this movie, but it was something like this couple goes into this town. It's like a kind of a typical scenario. I think either they get a hotel room and either their car breaks down or for some reason they have to wait for something. I forget the main premise, but there's a scene in this movie where the guy leaves his wife behind. He's like, hey, I'm going to go into town, so maybe their car wasn't broke. I don't fucking remember. It's been a while. It's like a decade. He's like, look, I'm going to go into town or where the fuck ever and try to do something or get help or whatever. I'll be back. Lock the doors, lock everything behind you. Well, these fucking strange people are trying to get into the house, and they sneak in. They eventually get in. Well, she's on the phone talking to her husband. You know, he's like, you know, how's it going along? If you find any help or whatever. And she's in the living room of this, I guess, like hotel room or whatever, but the camera is focused on her in the bottom right. The kitchen is behind her left shoulder, and I didn't even notice. This frame is shot like over a minute or two long, just stilled on her. And I didn't notice until I noticed that one of those fucking people were in the background, way in the back, just standing still. And that got me. That was fucking it. I'm like, no jump scares, no music, no fucking crazy shit. That got me. That subtle shit, man, always gets me, and I think it all stems to that fucking guy on that porch with that fucking outfit.
Yeah, those kind of scares are pretty classic, man. Even in literature, you can find stuff like that with like you remember those little books they used to have.
Yes, scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah, so there was something reading something along those lines, and there was it was, you know, woman, and she was scared of something, and she kept putting her hand, you know, she decided to put her hand down, you know, by the edge of the bed, and her little puppy came over and licked it, and it made her feel better, and she went to sleep. Then she wakes up the next morning and finds the dog dead in the bathroom, says people can lick too. You know? Oh, wow. And, you know, it's like, oh, mind blown. Sorry if I ruined that story for you.
Spoiler for 20
random
25,
story
30
you'll never find.
And the artwork that accompanied those stories made it even worse.
Oh, yeah.
I remember one of those was a story of a lady that was. These were all short stories too. They were usually like 2-3 pages at the most. They were, as the title says, short stories to tell in the dark. And it was a lady that woke up in the middle of the night because she felt something on her face. And when she opened her eyes and looked down, there was a spider just sitting on her face. And it went through like paragraphs of like all the fear and terror she was going through, of like she wanted to move but didn't. She went to go put a hand up, and when it got close to the spider kind of moved, and she was like, "Oh, fuck that! I don't want it to jump on my hand and bite me or whatever." And it was just line after line of how scared she was, and eventually she just like passed out from fear, went back to sleep. And then she woke up the next day and there was like a red bump where the spider was, and she's like, "Oh, that fucker bit me." And as time progressed throughout the day, like the bump grew bigger and bigger and bigger until it finally like popped, and then baby spiders crawled over her face. And when you look at the artwork on the next page of like this creepy, scarily drawn woman with these fucking spiders crawling, so good. I think I read that shit when I was in like the 5th grade.
Yup.
It's bad, man.
That's some stuff that'll rot you to your core right there.
Yes.
when you're in the 5th grade. Oh man.
Hello everyone and welcome to the end of time. I'm Michael.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Adam.
That's right. Special superstar guest Adam is back on his very own podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, if you can't tell, we're actually, this is not a Halloween episode. We're recording this pretty late for our time. Halloween's already came and passed. This is a couple days after, actually. And maybe again because one, I don't have kids yet, and two, I'm way older than I've ever was the last time I trick-or-treated. Halloween just kind of came and went for me this year. I think it's also the place you work too. Like, I work on base right now, and you don't dress up when you go to work on base. At my civilian job, possibly. But yeah, this Halloween just kind of came and went. We are weeks away from Thanksgiving now, and we're only a couple months away from Christmas, and this year is fucking over.
Yeah. Yay, RIP
Wow.
2018.
Thank you, God of War, for being here this year. I love you. Adam, man, it's good to have you back on, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, I've been trying to get back on. It's just, I don't know.
Life.
Right?
Well, funny you bring that up. Why don't you tell us about life over your past week, 2 week, 4 years, however long it's been, man.
Let's see. I took your recommendation and started that messenger game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Nice,
I haven't beat
nice.
it yet.
Mhm.
Apparently my joystick fucking skills have fatigued over time.
You ain't lying.
They've atrophied. And so I've made it to like the 4th or 5th boss on there, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't. So I'm working my way through it.
Are you liking it? What do you think about it?
I'm liking the vibes I get from it. I'm wondering how long it's gonna be. I don't like ruin anything for me, but just
No.
I'm wondering how much longer it's gonna keep going like this. I want to say I just got to the vampire boss chick.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah. And I figured out the pattern to beat her, and then I did not apply it. I went to bed, and I haven't played it again.
Now, this is especially pertinent for you. Actually, you know what, Chris? How much like Ninja Gaiden did you play back in the day? Did you play any of those old classic Ninja Gaiden games?
I played them, but I wouldn't say I played them a lot because I was
Maybe
not good at it.
Shinobi for the Genesis, maybe?
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
I played that too.
So the both of you can get what I mean when I say an average Ninja Gaiden or even an average Shinobi level. We're talking maybe if you went through and died even once or twice, you could probably blow through those levels in about 5 to 10 minutes at the most. These levels in the Messenger, if you're counting levels as maybe checkpoints from boss to boss, they are way longer than 5 to 10 minutes. So you definitely get more game out of this for sure. To give you a short answer without spoiling anything, Adam, when you think you're at the end of this game, you're about halfway through the game. Put it that way.
You get there, you deliver the message, and they're like, we got a message to send back to him. It's like, fuck you. And you're like, you have to go back through all the stages in reverse.
Now, if I had to compare it to something like maybe Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I would say it's a little shorter than Symphony of the Night. And I'm talking about the whole 200%. It's not that huge. It's not that big. But it's a hefty game for how much you pay.
That is a tall order to compare it to Symphony of the Night.
Yes. Now, and it's also... It's so hard for me to go back and compare these two as far as difficulty, because Castlevania had something over it that the Messenger does not. And Castlevania, you could grind, you could stat boost, and you could also buy crazy amount or find a crazy amount of weapons and armor to augment whatever difficulty you came across. So for me, when I play Symphony of the Night, the difficulty would usually get curbed because I would find a way around it. And the Messenger, typically you can only go so far in their leveling tree. You can only go so far in the gear and abilities tree. When you find a boss that is you're just stopped against, you just have to get better. You just simply have to apply.
It is a straight mechanics. Like, you aren't hitting the right buttons in the right order. This is you.
Exactly.
You know?
So I could compare the time for those two as far as like maybe physical time length, but Symphony of the Night just has just a shit ton of areas to traverse. Messenger has a smaller amount of area to traverse, but it has more difficulty because it is straight skill based. So you'll get locked up on a boss and you will just be locked up until you get better. You can't run to another area and grind, some crazy enemy and get a bunch of XP, or find that blood sword that does 12,000 damage,
Speaking of Castlevania.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just noticed the second season of the Castlevania anime quotes is out. I think it's more. I think it's more of a Justice League type of. That's the kind of vibe I get from it. But I guess it's made to be kind of anime-ish. So
it's stylized cartoon animation.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So, y'all seen the second season yet, or?
Nope.
I still haven't yet.
Anybody see the first?
I did see the first.
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised by it.
I will tell you that the anime is extremely surprisingly well done.
Yes.
Well done.
Also, it takes some fond respect to the source material too.
Yeah.
Like, and it puts a genuine, I would say, damn near Konami faithful spin or telling of that story.
Yes, it does.
You don't walk away from it going, "Oh man, they made this whole different thing."
This person wasn't there, and that didn't do that. Yep, nope. They were like, "Yep,
yeah,
here you go. Here, I can tell you exactly what game it's out of. It's out of Castlevania 3.
Yep.
The first two seasons is Castlevania 3. Enjoy.
It takes its time too.
Yeah, it does.
Which I like. From one episode to the other. It's not like, okay, we got to rush through and tell this whole story in the first episode. Mm-hmm. It's a build up.
Yeah, the first season is actually ridiculously short because I guess they weren't quite sure whether or not it was going to work out and how people were going to respond to it. So I think it's only like 6 episodes.
I believe so, 6 or 8, something like that.
So, and then the second one is a little bit longer, but still not a full season long. I consider a season to be at least 12 episodes, but so you can breeze right through this thing if you want, but it's good. It's really good.
And I also like how, and this goes for any series that's doing it these days, but I like how they're releasing this a season at a time.
Yeah.
So now when I go watch season 2, I can just watch season
Yeah.
2. I don't feel like I'm, hooked in that shit again.
You aren't sitting here like I am with bated breath every single day waiting for a new episode something from last week to find out what happened,
Yep.
That's my life right now. The winter anime season just started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so now all my favorite sequels are now coming out, and I'm having to go back through them one episode at a time. It's awesome and it's terrible at the same time. That's my life. Every day I get home and I've got one more episode of one more show, or maybe 2 episodes of 2 different shows. But
see, I think maybe that would be another argument to why being in a series in the moment wouldn't be so bad. Maybe if you have multiple series that you're concerned about, maybe then that's not so bad. If you get home and you get a plethora of new individual episodes of various series content to watch, that's a lot better.
yeah, no,
I couldn't be like into two things where it's like, man, I can't wait until Tuesday and Friday so I can watch these 30-minute episodes because, oh man, I want to know what Vegeta's gonna dye his hair.
that's right. What color's it gonna be this time, Kakarot? Oh man, but no, I've got pretty much one per day. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 days that don't have something that comes out that it's worth watching. Oh man, had a little bit of the controversy this anime season, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but everything's got to be controversial these days. So they had this Goblin Slayer anime came out, and it's got some pretty explicit scenes in it. They're not as explicit as they were. They toned it down for the anime adaptation, but it's still graphic enough to get its point across. Mm-hmm. And people started comparing it to Berserk. I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen Berserk. Yes, no.
I have watched. I've had a mixed bag with Berserk. I've watched the OAV that came out years ago. I think that it was like the miniseries version, I want to say.
Yeah.
I think I watched the first of those. The original series, I only watched the first episode. And then the sort of remake series, I watched maybe 2 or 3. I haven't watched Berserk all the way through. I need to really bad because I know how badass that series is.
If you want a really quick spoiler-free synopsis of Berserk, it's everything about the protagonist's life is hell. And every time he has any moment of happiness, it's instantly and brutally snatched away from him.
Yeah. I remember again, this is such a odd third hand way of getting it, but the death battle episode where he fought I forget who, and
they fought Soul Calibur.
Cool thing yes. So the cool thing about death battle is they'll take a minute, or they'll actually about 5 minutes before every fight, and they'll give you a big brief summary of their history. And I remember them reading off his history, how he came to be, and the shit that went on in his young adult life, and it's like, wow. Wow.
Yeah, if
Talk
you knew
about a fucking bad life,
if
man.
you knew the characters, that matchup was no contest. It was like, yep, as soon as they declared the matchup, the victor was already known.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that they did a pretty good job on the rough edges of it. People are comparing this new anime to that, which is kind of okay because it actually mixes 2 things I really like together, which is D&D and anime.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, this controversy I think has kind of overshadowed the first couple episodes. People aren't really taking it in, yeah. But now that the series has kind of hit its stride, I think it's on like its 5th or 6th episode now, probably 5th. And now it's starting to get to where, you're beginning to see the beats of the plot. That it kind of hits you with the shock value up front, just to let you know the stakes, and then it kind of dials it back a little bit and says, okay, well, here's how we're going to do it. And from now on, every single time they go into one of these goblin caves, you know what the stakes are.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Summarize the controversy? I mean, is it just that it's ultra violent?
No. It has
Okay.
Spoilers for the first episode of Goblin Slayer. All right. He starts out like any other, fantasy anime. You have this young girl, and she's just turned 15, and she's going to become an adventurer. She just left the church. She goes and she applies at the Adventurers Guild. And they say, okay, well, she says, I want to be an adventurer. And the lady at the desk says, oh, okay, well, write your stuff down here, blah, 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 fill out these forms. And she gives her this little tag. Okay, and this tag, she says, well, you need to hold on to this, and it's like a dog tag. She says, you need to hold on to this. It is, it states your status in the guild, and if something were to happen to you, it's how we'll identify you.
Right.
Immediately after her getting done with that, like 3 people walk up to her and go, oh, you're a priest, right? You can heal. You should join our party. And they're like, she's like, oh, really? What are y'all going to go do? And she's like, we're going to go kill some goblins. They're like the weakest enemies there are. We're going to go kill all of them. And like it cuts over to like the guild lady, and she's like, well, maybe you should go kill stuff in the sewers. Maybe you should, go clean out the sewers from rats and stuff like that, level up a little bit before you decide to take on something like that, or wait for like a more experienced adventurer. I'm sure somebody will be along. And she kind of looks back towards the door, and nobody's there. And they're like, it's the weakest enemies there are. We're going in there right now. So they take the quest and they go. And the whole time, you can tell the priestess is kind of really nervous about this. Yeah. She rolls up in there, and like, you got the fighter character who's like your typical anime protagonist, and he's like, yeah, once I chased some goblins off from my farm with a stick, and I was only like 10 then, so now I've got a sword, and I'm a grown man, I'm gonna destroy these things. And it's like, yeah, they basically got the intelligence and the strength of children, and he's arguing with the monk chick, and like the wizard chick graduated first in her class, and she's kind of really pissy that this priestess they brought along is kind of scared. Mm-hmm. So they make mistake number 1. They roll up into this goblin cave, and they hear a noise up front, and they immediately both of the melee fighters break ranks and sprint off forward after the noise. Mm-hmm. A couple seconds later, you hear a noise from behind them. And the priestess is like, oh my god, what the hell is that? And the wizard's like, no, you should just keep going. We're falling behind. And then the noise happens again, and they both turn around. Ta-da! Here's the goblins. Goblins step up. There's like 4 of them. The wizard chick goes, blah, 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 magical words, fireball. Dusts off the first goblin. It's a smoking crater. Unfortunately, this is a D&D based world. She's got like 3 casts of a spell. She burnt her first one on that, and she didn't have time to cast the second one because the 3 other ones just jumped on top of her and knifed her right in the stomach, brutally and slow.
Wow.
And that priestess is like standing there swatting with her little staff, like, get off her! The fighter comes charging back and like just immediately begins like hacking into them and killing 2 or 3 of them. Turns out they didn't bother wasting time, buying more equipment or, asking around for tips or, getting potions and stuff like that. So the priestess immediately casts Cure on the wizard chick. And so that, that causes her wound to close up, but she doesn't get up off the ground for some reason. Right after that, the fighter catches like a knife in the knee from his like weak level 1 armor. And then he gets mobbed and goes down. So then the monk chick runs in there to go save him, and she starts warning him on down. And she says, you two, just run, just get away from here. As she's doing that, like, she's just ninja kicking and punching and doing all this cool stuff. As they're running away, the goblins just gang up on her, but they don't kill her. They begin to tear her clothes off.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it does exactly what you think it does.
Oh, wow.
They don't get graphic with it.
Yeah, but still. Yeah.
But still, they've got close-up views of her face, and you can tell exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And the entire time, the priestess has now realized the grave error of her entire situation as she drags the, barely coherent wizard off deeper into the cave.
Clarify something for me. Is this anime about these people, or is this one of those fantasy animes where it's like real people that get into a game?
This is not a isekai type anime. These are people that grew up and live in this world. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I think a few people have recommended this anime, and I think I remember hearing the gist of apparently the first few episodes was that these adventurers get into what they think is going to be a super easy wash fight, and then they get fucking slaughtered.
Just handled. Absolutely handled. And later on...
And the community... Go ahead.
Yeah, later on in the series, spoilers, and I don't think this is an anime spoiler, because they don't show it in the anime, but I did read the manga, and I did see what happened. There is a group of all silver ranked adventurers, which is like third from the top. These are high ranking adventurers. They got mobbed by the goblins and killed in the exact same horrible fashion. So goblins are not to be underestimated, is basically the long and the short of it. Is, okay, well, these may be weak enemies, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't respect them.
Now, granted, I've been so far removed from the anime community for years and years and years now, but I mean, that does sound bad. The situation does sound bad, and I'm sure there's probably some other things you've left out as well. Yeah. But that's not the most horrible anime issues I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I mean,
there are more anime that are. Maybe because it's got so popular.
I think think the main thing is, and this is where I was going back to that Berserk comparison I've been seeing a lot. It is not Berserk at all. Berserk was made with, I don't know any better way to say this, but it feels like Berserk was made with an adult audience in mind, and it tells a very dark, mature tale. It's like, okay, here you go. You know what you're getting. This one starts off with a very teenage, dude, we're going to go on an adventure and do these things, and we're all idealistic, and then they just shatter it right in front of them.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I think that
it's like geared toward a younger audience, and then it gets way adult.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you thought you were a grown up. Let's show you some grown up things. But it dials it back. It dials it back. It keeps them pressed. Like, it keeps you thinking about it, which I think is a pretty good mechanic to start off, with the firm hand. You start off with the stick, and then even when you get the carrot, you're still wondering where the hell the stick is. Because, so, having read further up into it, I can tell you that it's going to be some pretty, there's some pretty edgy kind of stuff that's going to happen later on, but it's nothing on the scale of that first episode and the shock value of it.
That's something I've been reading a lot. Well, not reading, mainly seeing a lot of YouTube commentary talk about, discuss, is that anime that just being dark to be dark. And it's like just being edgy to be edgy. And again, this could be just because I'm so far removed that I haven't seen it all. Like, I'm interested to see how that shit's done. I don't feel that it's the issues I've heard about have been less and less of like controversy and more of, we've already seen this done time and time and time again. This is old hat. Let's just throw an anime and let's get it as depressive as we possibly can. And don't get me wrong, I understand the arguments against Edge just to be Edge, but I haven't seen a lot of it done in anime. So, yeah, I'm interested. That, if anything, that makes me more intrigued to go watch it. They're like, look, this is an anime about 17 girls. Trust me, it's going to get really dark and really depressing and all that. And it's, okay, well, show me. Yeah. What is this?
I think another part of this was that Crunchyroll, the people who sub it over here and had the first couple episodes immediately, they fucked up. They fucked up bad, and they misrated it. They didn't put it as an adult, mature audience kind of. Oh yeah, mature audience kind of. Yeah. So I can see, and they immediately rectified it. They went and they put their own little splash page at the beginning. Said, "Look, series contains some graphic scenes. You might want to, viewer discretion advised, that kind of stuff." Yeah. And I think that may have fixed it, but it's, at this point you're putting a Band-Aid on it. You didn't stop yourself from getting cut. You're just, patching the wound at this point.
Right.
So that, I want to say they rated it like 2 ranks lower than it needed to be. It was like teen or something like that, or maybe PG. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it definitely deserved a 17 plus rating.
So this is an ongoing series right now that you're watching.
Correct.
So controversy aside, do you like the anime?
Well, see, now, after having seen the first episode, watched the controversy, and then gone back and read the entire manga, I can say that I enjoy the story. I enjoy the idea of it, and I will tell you why. The main character, spoilers for this, is a guy named Goblin Slayer. Everybody in this series is named after what the hell they are. So there's a character named Priestess, who is, guess what, a priestess. There's a character named Goblin Slayer, who is the protagonist in the Goblin Slayer. There's a dwarf and a lizard man and a high elf, and everybody's basically named after what their job is.
Yeah.
Well, the guy from Goblin Slayer, the main protagonist of the story, he's made it like his entire mission in life to go around killing goblins. Mm-hmm. Like, he made it all the way up to the silver rank, only killing goblins.
Wow.
From first rank to today. That's all he does.
For us, we know that's a lot of grinding.
Yeah. He does nothing but kill them. So, you gotta think, but it becomes like this double-edged sword. Because this guy is like completely unable to relate to normal people. Because the goblins did something to him in his past, and he is fucking hell-bent on becoming a goblin to the goblins. He wants to be to the goblins what the goblins are to, like, villagers. He wants to be the one where, like, it's like, oh crap, he's coming. We're all gonna die in our homes.
Gotcha. Soul mission guy.
Yeah. And so, he doesn't buy good armor because it's a waste of money. And he feels like if he ever dies, then the goblins would put that armor to use, and he wants to give them the shittiest stuff possible if that happens. He doesn't clean his armor because the goblins can smell. They have like a really keen sense of smell. Mm-hmm. Like, one of the things he's, told the members of his party is like they can smell females. So, after he kills the first goblin, he slathers them in blood. Yeah. And like the one chick that's always with him looks over to the other one and just kind of has like this dead-eyed expression. It's just like, you get used to it. As he's like taking the entrails and smearing them all over, And so this guy's got like a single-minded ultra purpose, and it's other high-level adventurers won't take goblin jobs because they don't pay for shit, and they're low-level monsters that get you no glory. Mm-hmm. And the military...
But this is his thing.
Yeah, the military and the militias and stuff like that, they won't go fight these goblins unless they absolutely have to. So it falls to adventurers, and it's usually like the newbie adventurers, and they get slaughtered. So the woman that works at the guild like loves this dude. He's doing like a national service, you know. He's doing like this great service to the nation and the world by making it his sole focus. But everybody else who's, you know, not part of the guild and, you know, is actually looking out for him, is kind of like, man, you know, you're kind of touched in the head a little bit about this, right? You know, I was like, everything he does revolves around it. So it's really interesting. I want to know where the character's going to grow to. And so far, I haven't seen, even in the manga, I haven't seen far enough ahead. I can get a good idea where I think this season's going to end at for the anime. And I'm interested to see how they do it. But all in all, I say it's worth a watch, man.
Cool. Yeah, it's on. I think I've got it in my list of shit to check out. So yeah.
And they're doing I know Funimation is doing a dub, and Crunchyroll has it right now. And they're let's say 2 or 3 episodes ahead of them in subs.
Cool.
So there you go.
So you got The Messenger and you got Goblin Slayer. Anything else?
Let me think.
I think the audience definitely needs to know if you've dove back in or not.
You know,
into the World of Warcraft pond.
You know, I just read 2 things that seriously have me reconsidering it. One is they made the first ever tangible choice in WoW. They have a situation, spoilers for World of Warcraft, if you want to not have that story spoiled for you. Apparently, this last expansion has been very Horde versus Alliance. And the Horde has been doing the Horde got taken over by Sylvanas, the Banshee Queen. And everybody wanted this, and the first thing Blizzard did with her is do some fucking horribly fucked up shit that you think Garrosh would do. She burnt the fucking elves tree down. She burnt that motherfucker to the ground, and everybody in the Horde's like, fuck yeah. Everybody else is like, man, she's evil. Like pure evil incarnate. So, you know, that actually touched off a couple of the Horde players. They're like, why do we get to be portrayed as like this evil, you know, group always? Why are we always the evil ones? And so you know, of course the Alliance responds and they sack a city, and you have a faction on the Horde that's doing just like they did with Garrosh, and they're trying to break away again. And once again, it was shaping up to be, you're gonna have to fight the war chief again to dispose them. And nobody wanted to dispose Sylvanas. A whole lot of people didn't want to dispose Garrosh. And they wanted to have that choice to be like, okay, well, I would have sided with Garrosh in this, or I would have sided with Vol'jin, or I would have done this. But you didn't get that chance. This time, they put a choice in there. This time, they did. You get offered a mission by Sylvanas to go and do some stuff. And while you're in the middle of this mission, you're trying to find, oh man, why can't I remember his name right now? Oh no. Warcraft Senpai. It's too bad. Anyway, so I can't remember the guy's name. It's a prominent orc in the Horde is plotting betrayal. And Sylvanas sends you to find him. Presumably to bring him back. The subtext is she's going to kill his ass. So you're out there to find him, and you get a lead on where he might be. And right as you get this lead, this little troll dude pops out, and he goes, "Hey man, you wanna help us out?" And you know, they're probably gonna kill this guy, so we should probably like help him and stuff. And you have the option to take the quest, or you have the option to say, How dare you ask me to betray my war chief? And it tells you when you pick it. It's like, warning, this will cause an alternate quest line.
Yeah.
You will miss out on all this shit, but you will be compensated with a different quest line.
I like it.
Yeah. So there was that. You get back and like, there's 2 different texts for when you get back and talk to Sylvanas afterwards. One is like you lie to her and you're like, oh yeah, I tried to catch him, but he got away. Yeah, he ambushed us. And she's like, oh yeah. So this guy like single-handedly fought off like the 12 guys I sent to back you up, and you were the only one that lived, and you don't have a scratch on you, huh? Huh? Or she'd be like, oh yeah, your loyalty won't be forgotten, and I'm gonna find this little troll dude, and I'm gonna go fuck him up too. So yeah, it's totally cool. Totally cool.
It's got you thinking.
It's
about it,
got me thinking about it. But the other thing that's got me thinking about it is they revealed the first raid for 8.1. And it is completely different based on the faction you're in.
Oh wow, nice.
So
nice.
you end up having one of 2 different scenarios kind of play out. Either you're the Alliance and you raid this place via the sea, and you fight like 3 horde bosses, and then you go fight the boss of the city. Or you start as the horde and you're actually defending against the Alliance raid. You come back in from the opposite side, and so the last 3 bosses the Alliance face are the first 3 that you face, and then you go attack the Alliance generals as your last 3 bosses. And
that's pretty fucking cool.
But the kicker is the last boss is fucking Jaina Proudmoore.
Oh, wow.
Jaina Proudmoore was Arthas's girlfriend. She was in the Warcraft 3. She's been a huge figure of the Alliance this entire time, and everybody's wondering, are we going to kill her ass in this?
Yeah.
Do we get to kill Jaina? Because Jaina is like, she fucking hates the Horde. She fucking hates the Horde. Like, Garrosh pissed her off, and she is touched in the head now.
Yeah.
So, if they're gonna kill somebody, it might be Jaina. So, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. But that's got me it's chomping at the bit. I want to see what happens. I want to see this cinematic. I want to know if Jaina dies. I want to be the one to kill Jaina if she dies.
So, Adam, did you see the BlizzCon WoW thing they showed earlier?
I did see a little bit of it, but not enough. Like I
Blizzard makes such good cinematics.
God, do they ever? Oh, they are still so good at this.
Adam, it was the orc guy. I don't know anything about WoW. Orc guy. Bear with me. It was the orc guy captured by the king or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And there was a conversation in there. Oh man, such a good cinematic. I know nothing about WoW, don't care about WoW, but that made me want to go look at more WoW stuff just because how amazing their cinematics are.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to check this out now.
Yeah.
I honestly, for this episode, I wanted to check out the BlizzCon stuff. I didn't. The only thing that I've checked out recently news-wise is the Nintendo Direct, and that turned out to be just a Smash Direct, which has got all kind of flares going up. Chris, remind me? Did you do your week first last episode, or did I? I can't recall. I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did because I was. Yeah, you did because I was talking about Magic and then transitioning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's some news things that the three of us can go over. You want to break tradition and do some news stuff and then roll in your week, or
sure.
You want to go ahead and roll in your week?
We can do news stuff.
Good. First thing I want to talk about, this is going to be right up Chris's alley.
Okay.
I got to pull a page up because I want to get the list before I start babbling on this. There was not really a new... Well, part of it was a news announcement, but it was more of an addition to what's already been announced. I'm sorry I'm talking so slow because I'm trying to get the list pulled up. So the PlayStation Classic was announced a few weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, the PlayStation Classic's on the way. And again, I know we talked about it a little bit, but we were waiting on the full list to be announced. I don't really want to say this is going to be a game. I just want to go down this list, and I want to get the End of Time cast's anticipation, interest, disgust, disdain, what have you, on all these games that have been announced. So there are 20 official games that are being released for the PlayStation Classic. And I want to say something here that I brought up to a coworker of mine. We were talking about this yesterday, actually. I'm waiting for, I don't know who's going to do it, because all three of the big three are all doing their thing now. Big four, if you count the Sega. I don't think there's an Xbox Classic yet. I think that's the one we're missing. And maybe that will do it, but I don't think that's going to be anywhere near what this question was, the statement. I'm waiting for the company that comes out and says, you know, guys, we're not going to do this 15, 20, 25 game bullshit. Here is the insert console classic. The fucking library is there. We're charging a little extra. Okay, yeah, we're charging $130, but you have every game on this thing. Because again, we have another classic console coming out, and arguably, I get it, PlayStation ISOs and ROMs are a little bit harder to come by. There's more licenses to deal with, and they're also larger files. I could kind of see you making an argument that there's not a big enough space on this little bitty thing, but this whole some games are coming out, and furthermore, no way to add more games is so fucking aggravating. So the shitty news is that PlayStation's coming out. It's a PlayStation Classic. It is actually, per the definition, the actual PlayStation Classic, as in it will not feature DualShock controllers. Right. It has the old style PlayStation controllers. Originally, there were 4 or 5 games announced. And as of now, as of this episode, as of a couple days before this episode, all 20 games have been announced. So, here we go. Number 1, Battle Arena Toshinden. Okay. I mean, hey, PlayStation game. Sure, it's a PlayStation fighting game. I'll say that, yeah, it smells of PlayStation, but I don't know. I feel like it's a okay that it's in there.
Sure.
And the two of you, by all means, if some of these pique your interest or you got something to say, just let me know.
Yeah, that would be more of a nostalgia thing. Just boot it up, play around and for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Battle Arena Toshinden was one of the first games that came out on the PlayStation. So, you know, when you first got your PlayStation, that was probably the game you had.
Yeah, that's something that I'm seeing for this list is a lot of it is either the first of a series, or they're like, we're talking classic PlayStation. And to completely make me a fucking liar, Cool Borders 2 is the next game.
What the fuck?
I don't know if Cool Borders 2 is a sequel to a PlayStation Cool Borders. Chris, do you think you do some homework on that?
I have no idea what that is. Yeah,
it's a snowboarding
game. I'm guessing it's a snowboarding game, but I don't know if like the first Cool Borders was a PlayStation 1 game or if it's a sequel to like a Genesis game.
I put it in a category with like Jet Moto, where it was like, you know, it was nothing like Jet Moto, but I put it in the same category because it's one of those sports games kind of. It just it went off how radical it was, and it made me just absolutely turn my nose up at it.
So the first game was on the PlayStation the year before.
Wow. Okay. So fuck me, PlayStation Classic, for making me a liar. Apparently there is at least a sequel in here, which is gonna blow my mind down the road. I'm saying this sequel because there's a specific game on here where I went, actually 2 of them, where I said, why did you use the sequel? It was so much better. Anyway, moving down the list, Destruction Derby. Okay. Great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great.
I'll play the hell out of that.
Again,
game they should have kept going. You know, franchise that should still exist.
Yeah.
If you're talking about PlayStation Classic and you're trying to do the classic, like old school PlayStation nostalgia, okay, yeah, sure, gotcha. Good. Not great, but good. Final Fantasy VII. This is a fucking gem right here. You are getting one of the top tier PlayStation games, one of the top tier RPGs of all time on this console. You are blessed. I think this is a good addition. I think all around this is a solid pick.
One second. What happens if they make you buy memory cards for this motherfucker?
Oh, see, that's a good question. As I'm looking at the PlayStation Classic itself, it has the visage of the actual classic PlayStation. I mean, it's got the power button, the eject button, the reset button. There are slots for memory card, but I haven't looked at any specs on this to see any of that.
Can you put a memory card in there?
What I would assume is it will have like ROM style memory saves, like an emulator.
So
does.
if you have a memory card with save data on it, you can't use that?
I don't know. These are questions that I don't know, but I'd like to know now because I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I'd love to pull out because I still have my PlayStation 1 memory cards.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I got nothing but Suikoden saves left, but I mean, you know.
Good saves to have. Spoiler alert, Suikoden is not on this list.
Motherfucker.
But, you know, it is.
It's a virtual memory card.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. It makes sense.
Though the slots are there.
Yeah,
I wonder if they would work.
I'm gonna press
I
that
hope
fucking
they were.
eject button.
If the thing is I'm not gonna be the motherfucker that finds out it fries your fucking memory card when you stick it in there.
Oh no. I want my saves intact. You know, it got so bad with my I say bad, but it got so bad with my PlayStation saves that I started to have memory cards for every genre. I had an RPG card, I had an action card, a fighting game card.
I had a Final Fantasy VII card.
There were a lot of games that were like, yeah, I'm taking the whole memory card. Sorry, dog.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto, the original. Okay, I get it. Sure, the original one on there, just to see what the classic old school Grand Theft Auto was like.
Yeah,
Intelligent Cube. Throw a puzzle game on there.
I remember that game. I don't know why it made this list. It was pretty damn good puzzle game, to be totally honest with you. But
yeah, this is where my mentality, like, I feel like I'm a spoiled asshole when I think about this list. Think about this. There are, Chris, you're the world expert on PlayStation. How many titles are there on the PlayStation? Like 500, 600, something?
I had that up before.
Well, as you're looking at the actual number, they've whittled this down to 20. Mm-hmm. And I don't see, much like most of these classic consoles, I don't see any way that they're adding, like, quote unquote DLC. There's no packs to these. There's no, hey, if you buy this thing and slap it onto this thing somewhere, you can get more games. So intentionally, when you buy these classic consoles, I take it as me giving this console to a non-gamer and going, hey, you want to know what the essence of PlayStation is like? If you want to get a picture frame style of what it was like to be a PlayStation game owner and player, here are 20 games that are going to give you that style. This is the 20 cream of the fucking crop right here. I don't know of a NES Classic V2. I haven't heard of a SNES Classic version 2. So I'm assuming there's not going to be a PlayStation Classic 2 in any way. So if I'm looking at the 20 games, I'm thinking, this is the creme de la creme. Final Fantasy VII? Fuck yes. Again, that's awesome. Fucking thanks for giving that to the world. Yep. Intelligent Cube? I don't remember me and Chris having hour-long conversations about Intelligent Cube. I don't remember me and Adam getting into heated debates over Cool Borders 2.
Oh, that's because you wiped it out of your memory. But I can remember a lot of long nights talking about the minutia of how to pull off the perfect 1080.
The fucking Hawk's wingnut flip. Yeah.
So,
they all...
The total number of games, 2,595.
Jesus Christ. That is... again, they have distilled this. This is the way that I see these classic consoles. They have distilled that over 2,000 games down to 20.
What you really need to remember is that for every game on this PlayStation Classic, 100 got left off.
Bad. And again, I just want to remind you, Suikoden's not on this list. Jumping Flash. Okay, I've heard people talk about it. Game. I've heard it being like something that people really enjoyed, but up there with, again, we're talking top fucking 20. Maybe that's what we should get to. That's the mentality I want from us discussing this list. Top 20, yes or no? We'll just throw it out like that. We did a PlayStation top list, haven't we, guys?
I think you kind of have to look at this with a different eye, though, because you're looking for the essence of PlayStation, like you said. So it's not just going to be the best games. It's going to be the games that make you go, man, that's a PlayStation game. So it's got to have that nostalgia factor there too.
I suppose. But see, my toss back to that is, okay, but this isn't DualShock. There are lots of DualShock specific games. I'm looking straight at you, Ape Escape, and that game drips PlayStation to me. Not on here because the DualShock's not a thing.
Well, okay, but that's not an invalid point. But what I'm saying is Battle Arena Toshinden, top 20 PlayStation? I don't think so. No. But I think it does belong on this.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I would say it holds more sway than Cool Borders 2.
But damn sure.
I don't.
Damn sure does.
When I think of PlayStation like off sports games, I think of, and I think Chris would agree with me here, like Tony Hawk something.
Tony Hawk or
like the Dave Mirra BMX style games. But Cool Borders, honestly, I don't even think I've heard of that. I've heard of fucking Snowboard Kids and 1080 Snowboarding before I've heard of Cool Borders. And the fact that Cool Borders made it here over Tony Hawk. We'll get to the license discussion once we get through this list. So Jumping Flash, okay, sure. I mean, I've heard people talk about it, whatever. Metal Gear Solid, again, classic. Gem,
sounds
classic. Pretty good. On the top 10 of a PlayStation list. Hell yeah. Awesome that's on here. You're blessed to have that on
I just want to mention that's the third Konami game we've talked about tonight.
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Mr. Driller. Haven't played it.
Nope.
But another pseudo puzzle-ish kind of game.
I mean, it looks like Dig Dug.
Yeah, looks like Dig Dug. I get it, but again, I barely remember magazine articles for this thing, so sure, it's here. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. Yeah.
Great.
Damn right. This is a puzzle style game that, yes. Yeah.
That I mean, you know, like I said, it wasn't my favorite PlayStation game, but I respect it. You know what I mean?
Yes. And it screams PlayStation.
Yes, it does.
I think it was on our top PlayStation games list we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. That's so bad, man. Again, this is my memory doing me in, but we've done so many top lists. I think we've done a PlayStation list.
Yeah, I went back.
Doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
Thank God.
It's like the last thing I remember.
It was episode 48. For those that want to go back and watch it or listen to it, rather.
Awesome. Yeah. So the next game here. This is where I start to get pissed off, and I think even my wife would be pissed off about this. Rayman. Okay, I will grant you that Rayman, especially the classic Raymans, are decent games. Mm-hmm. I'll give you that. They're fun, they're colorful, and they're designed pretty well. They're worth a playthrough or through. I will give you that. So that's one thing. Second thing, taking Adam's argument. Okay, they don't have to be the best games of all time, but they need to scream PlayStation. You need to be able to look at this and think PlayStation. Okay, I can sort of think Rayman, but what other? I ask you two gentlemen, and audience as well, what mascot comes to mind? Thank you. Guess who's not on this fucking list anywhere?
You're shitting me.
Crash Bandicoot is not on this list anywhere. Now, I know there are some apologizers out there going to say, wait, hold your boobs, wait a minute, because they did just release the Insane Trilogy on the PlayStation 4 and the store and all that shit. So, I mean, we did just get, and I say that's no excuse. This is in your house, hand it to a friend and say, here is PlayStation, buddy. If you want to feel what it was like to play these games and get the breath, here is the fucking icon, the arguable mascot for the PlayStation, not on the PlayStation Classic. I think that is a slap in the face. How How did they not have a Crash Bandicoot on here? Any one of them. How did they not have any one of them? You telling me it's a license thing? How did Rayman get picked over Crash Bandicoot for the PlayStation Classic? Crazy. Crazy world. Again, Rayman, you're fun, but you're not the icon that Crash Bandicoot was designed to be.
That's like the Sega Classic, having Vector Man instead of Sonic.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you're there.
I would make that comparison, but
when I see you, Vector Man, I do think Sega Genesis. Yeah, but you're not Sonic. Okay?
I don't think Rayman is the one to point at and say, "Why are you here instead of Crash Bandicoot?" I totally think Rayman deserves to be on here for the classic it is. Crash Bandicoot, yeah, put it on there. Replace something like Mr. Driller. How about one of those shittier games that nobody's heard of over, another classic?
I can convert. I can switch over to Chris's religion now. There we go.
Adam,
you have swayed me with your charisma roll.
All right, and spoiler alert, Adam. These are in alphabetical order.
Oh God.
So,
oh no,
I'm going in ABC order.
So if there's a game you're waiting to hear that you haven't heard yet, and it, in alphabetical order, you're not going to.
Motherfucker, we're on R.
Yeah,
Castlevania. Yeah, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Not here.
Oh my fucking shit.
Resident Evil Director's Cut. This is the first one of the sequel-itis thing that I don't really get. So Resident Evil Director's Cut. Okay. You're going way old school classic. Mm-hmm. You went above and beyond to at least get us the director's cut. But I'm sorry, if you're not going to follow through with your own sequel thing, I'm looking at you, Ridge Racer Type 4, Tekken 3, Cool Borders 2. Why did you not put Resident Evil 2 on here, which is arguably, of those two, the better game? Whatever.
Question for you, because I don't remember this. Was RE2 DualShock?
Yes. Maybe. I want to say that was like vibration.
Because if it was, that's exactly why.
That's a good question.
I want to say that was vibration.
Jesus. I want to say there was a DualShock version. Oh, Jesus.
I think that's what the director's cut added, and then the DualShock for Resident Evil 2. Because it came out Resident Evil in the giant, ugly fucking VHS case. You remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then Resident Evil Director's Cut, I think they actually put it in like a normal freaking CD case. And then Resident Evil 2 had the double CD case.
So the original Resident Evil 2 that came out in 1998 was Resident Evil. Then later there was a DualShock version. So two different versions. I'm following through because I'm actually reading that off of FAQ, and I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable putting my seal of approval on a FAQ.
I did see that there was a separate DualShock edition. I found eBay results when I was searching. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm seeing a title that says Resident Evil 2 DualShock version. So
maybe there's a DualShock version.
I'm going to stand by that and say there were at least two versions of it. So, and again, I would see that being a solid argument. It would play better with a DualShock, but if you're going with old school tank controls with Resident Evil Director's Cut, then you could have won it. Again, I get it. I'm not saying this is kind of a half-hearted, why didn't you put the sequel in? I realize that I prefer this sequel over. I had Resident Evil 2 on my top 15 for a long time, so I have a lot of passion for that. I can see if you just wanted to show off the old school Resident Evil. I mean, you got tank controls either way, so sure.
I mean, that's fair enough. It's a different version. I mean, I think there's still, like you were kind of saying, there's still kind of that argument there, but you know what? I take a step back and say, yeah, they totally could have. If there was a version out there, they could have.
I think the entire Resident Evil series would have benefited from using the B-movie footage they used in the first Resident Evil.
Yeah.
On all of them. They take out all the CGI cutscenes from 2 and 3 and all the rest of them and just replace them with B actors badly saying their lines. Everything
don't open.
That door.
That door could have been an Adam sandwich. Revelations Persona. Now, this, as touted, versed in the Persona universe I am now, I don't know what the fuck this
Don't
is.
do
I'm
it.
thinking this is like a version 2.0 of the very first Persona, but I don't know.
Move the triangle
that there's
around on the grid. You move a triangle around. It's supposed to be on the city, but it's the grid. Don't do it.
So there is a Persona on this, which is cool, sure. But would I have Persona on here as opposed to Suikoden? No. That's me being biased. It's me being personally biased.
No,
I get it.
No,
and this is just Persona 1.
I'm going to go ahead.
That's what I figured.
I'm going to go ahead and get mad because, one of the games I heard that was on this thing? You know
what?
I heard Saga Frontier was on this goddamn game thing, and
Nope.
now I'm not buying it. I
Nope.
completely wanted to play Saga Frontier. I'd seen so much about it, I got to see it over a friend's house one time, and I never got to just dig my teeth into it the way I wanted to, and this was going to be my opportunity, and we're already past S's.
Denied. Ridge Racer Type 4. So fuck the first 3 Ridge Racers. We're going straight to 4. For some reason, they picked the 4th. So if they're being picky and choosy about what they're wanting to put on here, Ridge Racer got special dibs. Sure. I don't know enough about racing games or Ridge Racers as a whole to know why this one would have got picked or what's better, but I'm assuming this is a later generation PlayStation game, which would also go against this thing being a PlayStation classic. I don't know. Ridge Racer, that's Sony's deal. Let them do whatever they want.
Let's see. Ridge Racer Type 4, Japan 98, NA 99.
Yeah. Pretty later-ish in the time frame.
Yeah.
Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
Fuck that.
Oh, guess
You could have put
fun.
You could have put Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Street Fighter EX
Well-
plus Alpha. Come on.
Oh God, no!
That's the one I had.
The 3D one, the first 3D one,
Yeah.
the abysmal failure 3D one. Had some kind of weird scorpion-like character with the harpoon move.
I don't remember. That's too
I
long
don't
ago.
remember.
I put tons of hours into it, though.
It had Skullomania on there, so there's that.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Which everybody gets up in arms about. He's a cool character, but I only remember him from X Plus Alpha. Anyway, Siphon Filter also made it on here. Okay, I could see this.
Okay,
one
so we didn't
being
pass the S's, but now we have. God fucking damn it!
Yep. Yes. You're just gonna be upset by this list, okay?
Siphon Filter is awesome, but I'm still mad because it comes after
Siphon Filter
Saga.
is my PlayStation radar sees Siphon Filter. I can respect it being on here. Sure.
I never even heard of it.
Tekken 3.
Siphon Filter
Again.
Wait, hold up! You never heard of Siphon Filter?
Nope.
It was a game where you could tase someone until they burnt to death
Okay.
from
I'm on
across the street. This
It
taser was like
Metal Gear
this
action.
This taser
but
could
no
shoot
stealth.
no shit. This taser could shoot like 400 yards, and you could just electrocute people to death on top of buildings. It was great.
It was a pretty good action shooter game, but I unfortunately played this after I played Metal Gear Solid, so I was like, man, I'm action gamed out right now.
Mhm.
So, Tekken 3, okay, again, we're passing up Tekken 1 and 2, PlayStation Classic, and we're going straight to Tekken 3, so you're picking and choosing picks of the litter.
Yeah.
Because Tekken 3 is awesome. It is definitely awesome, and it is definitely a 3D fighting game that blows Toshin Den out of the water when it comes to 3D fighting. But again, I'm just taking a little mark there that you picked 3 over 1 and 2.
I would have been even cooler
Now-
with this list if they had just divided it up and said, here's our genres, and we're gonna go one racing game, one fighting game, one RPG, one action platformer, one survival horror, and they just kept on going. They just kept repeating, and that's how they made their picks. And so some weird ones ended up on there because they didn't have 5 of these, just one specific genre that they had, a stellar, model of. But this makes no fucking sense.
No, it doesn't. And we're almost done. The pain's almost over, Adam. Don't worry. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. So the only thing that I ever remember about old school Rainbow Six games was not even on the PlayStation. It was on the Dreamcast. So this was the next generation of consoles. And I had a Rainbow Six game. And I remember the load times for that thing being like 2 to 3 minutes every time. And I'm talking offline gameplay. If I went into a Rainbow Six match and died, it was just the loading was like 2 to 3 minutes to load the next thing. So if that was on the Dreamcast, I can only imagine what it was like on the PlayStation. I never played this game on the PlayStation. I must have got some kind of popularity because Sony decided to put this thing on the PlayStation Classic along with 19 other games. Jesus Christ. This is the one that really pisses me off, as if I'm not already pissed off. Twisted Metal, full stop. Twisted Metal. So you went out of your way to pick Tekken 3. You went out of your way for some reason to pick Cool Borders 2 over 1, but you put the original Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal 2 is not on this thing. It's 1. Yeah, 1's okay, 1's fun. It is not the caliber of 2. Yeah. 2 is the masterclass of that entire fucking franchise. You didn't put that one on here. All right, Sony. You're the fucking boss.
I mean,
and then the last game. Go ahead.
I mean, they gotta save something for next time, right?
Yeah.
And
that's what it is.
That's why they're littering this thing. That's why it's like, cat litter. You got sand, giant fucking turd, sand.
See, this is what pisses me off. Think about this. If they do make me a complete liar, we have the PlayStation Classic version 2, PlayStation DualShock version. Twisted Metal 2 is not DualShock. So that doesn't work. Like nothing on this list makes enough sense to me except for Final Fantasy VII Metal Gear Solid. The rest of them there's some okays in here. Let's finish the list off, then we'll talk about the whole entire list. The last game on the list is Wild Arms. Okay, cool. You put another RPG on here.
Wild Arms deserves to be
probably not over Breath of Fire 3.
Not over Saga Frontier, motherfucker.
Not over fucking Suikoden.
It's still there. It's on the fucking list. It was one of the, compared to all the other dog shit they put on there, they put a decent game on there. I'll take it. Okay? I'll take it. Man. You put something on there that's at least above a 5. Okay? I'll take it. It don't have to be 10s anymore. My expectations have gone way lower. My expectations are at Cool Borders right now.
Yeah, my desire to have this thing sitting in my house and invite friends over and be like, hey man, check out the PlayStation World stops with 7 and Solid.
It's like, just ignore all this shit. Don't touch
the other ones are kind of ho-hums. This is
what you've got is a demo disc. They have accurately recreated the demo disc environment of dog shit, awesome. Dog shit.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are many reasons why a lot of the games that we as gamers believe should be on this list are not on this list. The main one that I keep hearing, without doing the homework, mind you, without seeing it on black and white paper, is that licensing. Well, I'm sorry, but if you got the time, effort, money, what the fuck ever connections to get Final Fantasy VII on here and Metal Gear fucking Solid on here, the fact that you don't have Crash Bandicoot alone makes that argument fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't know who makes these picks. I don't get them. And I'm trying to say that from a genuine PlayStation lover's point of view. Like, I can see Oddworld. Okay, I can see Tekken 3. Hell, I can see Destruction Derby and Toshinden. But Cool Borders, Intelligent Cube, Rayman,
Raymond.
I just don't know, man. Some of these things just don't fucking add up.
I can see this now. I can see this PlayStation 1 case with Everybody Loves Raymond, the video game. And he's just like, hey, and his wife bitches at him, and then he goes away.
Yeah. Adam, you learn to just go with it. He says it every other time, if not most of the time that way. Sometimes he gets it right. I know what he's saying. You know?
Yeah.
Everybody loves Raymond.
So, since Adam's opinion never counts anymore, nobody fucking cares about him because he's a shitty guest on this podcast
God
now.
damn.
Chris.
God damn. God. God.
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, since of the three, since of the two of us that actually matter on this podcast, I genuinely put you as the PlayStation guru. I feel like I'm the Super Nintendo flag holder, and I feel like you're the PlayStation flag holder. Being the unofficial PlayStation guru of the End of Time cast, what's your pretty much up and down about this PlayStation Classic?
So, I wrote out the list of the games, and I put dots next to the ones that I'm at least okay with being on this list. I dotted 12 of them. So that means 8 of the games on here I literally don't give a shit about and won't touch. Of the remaining, I'll probably play most of them. I probably won't touch 7 on it, just because why would I do that? I have, so many other copies of it. It definitely should be on there, but I personally won't play it because I already have it. Not that I don't have Destruction Derby and Resident Evil and several others.
What do you do? What do you do if Sony pulled a fast one on us, and this is the Final Fantasy VII remake on here?
Get the fuck out of town!
All right,
Get the fuck out of here,
Michael. Just mute his audio track while we have this discussion.
Damn,
and we'll just move on. Pretend that wasn't said.
I thought you had something, but all you had was heartache and depression.
That's a taboo until
Chris and I are actually trying
to
to forget about the 7 remake, not because we don't want it to happen, because we want it to be a surprise when it comes out. And what did we say, Chris? 2025?
I think that was about it. Yeah. There was something that I don't remember. We actually had a literal an actual factual basis for that being a worthy guess was 2025. Don't remember what the original source was, but that's where my hopes currently lie.
Come out right next to the new Star Fox.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I swear to God, I punch you right now. You better be lucky this is not live in my house anymore, because I would punch you right now.
Damn.
I hope we do a Thanksgiving episode down there live.
Oh, yeah.
All 3 of us at a table.
Fisticuffs over the podcast.
But yeah, so I'm okay with a little more than half of the games. It's $100. I'm okay with that. I think you get your money's worth even with the shitty games that are on it. And even if they're not, like Twisted Metal, like you said, not the best one in the series, it's an okay game. It definitely hasn't aged well, which leads me to wondering, is this pure original source format? Or do these contain any tweaks at all? I don't want to say quite remastered, but minor upgrades, if you will,
Right, right.
Because a game like Twisted Metal, it needs it. Even 2 and 3 are better, graphically than 1 by quite a bit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Destruction Derby, I'm okay with its graphics. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible.
I mean, to tell you the truth, aesthetically speaking, Destruction Derby's mediocre to subpar graphics kind of fit the motif of the game itself. The game is about putting nasty, raunchy, fucking broke down cars and slamming them together. Yeah. I'm okay with, on the PlayStation 1 specifically, we're not talking PlayStation 4 graphics here. On the PlayStation 1, I'm okay with it being a little ugly, there's the PlayStation Classic. I definitely was definitely wanted to get Chris's opinion on this. Full disclosure, I haven't bought any of these classic consoles. I think if I were to buy one, I would probably get the SNES one, but I live in such a fortunate age where, number one, I have my own Super Nintendo with way too many games anyway, and I just have the shit on my computer anyway, so the nostalgia is there. I get it, but nothing on any of those lists, especially this PlayStation, has made me go, oh, wow, this is... If there was a way... So you say, this is another thing I'll say before I got to get into Chris's week. If a company doesn't want to go out of their way to have every game on there, I mean, again, if we're talking over 2,000 PlayStation ISOs, holy shit, that's a lot of space. I get that. But maybe give them, do your work, developers, and get as many licenses as you possibly can. Make it to where you can get whatever you want. Have us pay $150 and let us pick our own 20. Somehow. I know that's way far and beyond. That's so much hassle. You'd have to probably buy the thing and then hook it up online and buy codes. I get it. Or maybe have different bundles.
For that, they really already have like their PlayStation online library. I don't remember what they call it, but they have where you can pay X amount a month, and there are a lot of classic games in there.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of them. You can buy their classic versions. Don't know how the pricing is, but I imagine it's fairly decent. Probably like $5-10 a game, maybe, depending on what it is. So I think the availability's there. I think right now what they need to fix is the service itself. Not so much the games they're offering, because they offer a lot. They need to fix the service. That's my biggest complaint I've heard. I don't use it because I've heard all the complaints about it. Mm-hmm. But I've been considering it just because I keep seeing how vast the library is. Like, we're talking about the Persona games, and I'm like, yeah, if I had that service, I could go play, like 2 other games. I think like 3 and 4 I could go play if I had that service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it sucks.
So despite the truth of Adam being a guest and nobody cares,
Damn.
What's your quick over-under on the PlayStation Classic?
I'm over it. And underwhelmed. Yeah. Highly underwhelmed. So, a couple of those games I can understand being on there. I know not everybody played Siphon Filter, but Siphon Filter was one of the big, Gabe Logan, the protagonist of Siphon Filter, was one of the big 3 spy dudes back in the day. If you read the gaming magazines and stuff like that, it was Snake, Sam, and Gabe.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Gabe was the first motherfucker to quit.
Yep.
So as soon as PlayStation 2 came out, he was like, man, I'm really not good at this shit. And I think he had 1 game, and it was like, yep, rip. And, Sam Fisher held on for a little bit longer. Then he petered out too. Actually, I think he's still got games coming out.
I believe so. Yeah,
maybe
he's another one of those. He's kind of jumped over the hurdle of what he's typically known for.
Yeah, I got that backwards. Snake's petered out before fucking Sam Fisher did.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But so when it comes to stuff like Jumping Flash and Battle Arena Toshinden, I can understand why that's there. Those are first gen games. I get that. It's like Warhawk. You know? Those kind of games are iconic. They're the first gen of PlayStation games. They were the games that separated the PlayStation from its competition. When you looked at like the 32X, you were like, man, that's 32-bit. And the PlayStation said, yeah, but that's 32-bit dog shit. Look at this. And Battle Arena Toshinden was going up against Virtual Fighter. The original ones. And it was winning. The problem I see is when you get back into there and you start looking at the other games in the library and you go, man, this is really, where is Street Fighter the game, the movie?
Get out of town. Get out of the city.
That's a PlayStation classic in my mind.
All right.
This is what happens when you give Adam the floor.
All right. So Adam's totally not going to drop 100, neither am I.
Damn.
Chris, maybe.
I already pre-ordered it.
Oh,
Our
shit.
pre-order when it was announced, and we only had 5 games.
My
Oh,
condolences.
yeah, that's right. You sure did. You did. Well, Chris, it's about that time. What you been up to this past week?
The last thing I'll say about the PlayStation Classic, I was looking at the pictures they have on the website for it, and one of them includes the manual. And what stuck out to me is it has the lines pointing to what all the parts are, on the PlayStation itself. There are no lines pointing to the memory card ports. So those are just decorative based on that. Yeah.
So. All right. Well, that's an up or down decision. I mean, it'd be cool to go put your own memory card in there and load up your saves, but if it's also cool that they're using straight virtual memory, so you don't have to fucking.
How am I gonna fire up my awesome 1080 fucking cool border save, and now I can't fucking do it? Fuck that whole console.
All right. So, my week, man, this has been a week for me. It's been a roller coaster. I didn't talk about it last week because it was fresh, and I was still waiting on news and stuff about it. But so last Thursday, we get a call telling us to stop working. I'm like, okay. And apparently the contract, we just did a whole contract transition, changed companies, then changed companies again. And so we get the call saying, hey, stop working because the contract was protested. Well, okay. The last contract I worked on was protested as well, and we were still working for the 3 months that was going on. So we're like, okay. So we stopped working. So Friday and Monday, doing nothing. Just kind of waiting to hear back. They're like, yeah, they're working on talking about stuff and figuring out, how to keep us working. And I'm like, all right, well, just let me know when I can do work again. And then Tuesday, the company calls us up and says, well, as of today, we're terminating you because of the protests. We can't keep paying you.
Wow, God.
Jeez.
What?
Okay. So what now? But we quickly found out, fortunately, that the company we worked for before they were awarded a different contract, and they were going to get an emergency extension to be able to cover us until the protest was over. It's a whole mess, and this is why I hate being in the contracting world. Despite how lucrative it is money-wise and how good some of the jobs are, the stuff on the back end, the whole contract thing itself is like, all right, this is a mess. Of course, it's government related, so of course it is. But
I mean, do you work for Cyberdyne Systems or something? Are you making artificial life? Why are they protesting what you're doing?
So the way the protest works is basically the government puts out a bid for people to work on a contract. Our contract is for a variety of programs. That's kind of why it was a little change up with this round of bids and stuff, because there were actually 2 different contracts that were being awarded to kind of break out one larger one that everybody was on before. So the first one was awarded to the company that got it. They started working. Everything is fine. As far as I know, they're good. And we're falling under them now, so I certainly hope so. But so the company I was working for was going to be a subcontractor on the new contract. But of course, the prime has to have, 51% of the work, or they're not the prime. There's this whole, I don't really dive too deep into it, but there's basically this whole, small business movement going on. And so when contracts are awarded, they look for small businesses that can take it. And the way the big companies are still getting the work and a lot of the money is they're doing 49% of the work on a contract. So small companies only handling a portion of it, at literally as little as they can while still meeting the criteria so they can get awarded.
Right.
So the company I was working for, good company, was going to be a sub. Well, as far as I'm aware, they're only a sub on the first contract I was awarded. So we're like, okay. So the second contract was awarded, and we moved over to the company, or a company. And then that was actually the sub on that contract. So there's the prime and the sub. So we moved over to the sub as pretty much as soon as the thing was awarded. This is like at the beginning of October or whatever. Or, yeah, beginning of October. And then they worked out all their other stuff, and they're like, okay, well, we're actually going to move you to the prime. So we moved over to the prime. And then we were literally on the primes, employed by the prime for 6 days total, 5 days total, working days. 2 of those being the stop working days. So we literally had like 3 days of work with the prime company before the protest hit. And they're like, oh, well, we're not going to pay you if we don't know if we're going to keep the contract. So I've worked for 3 companies in the last month, one of them twice. So we're now back to the subcontractor because they're the prime on the other one or something, or they're a sub on the other one as well. So they got an emergency allowance from the government saying, yeah, you can cover this work until we work out the protest. So yeah, it's ridiculous, but
sounds like you've had a very nerve-wracking week.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny because about a month ago, probably like a week before all this started, I got approached by a company I did some side work for earlier in the year. They wanted me to do some more side work. So when they told us to stop working at, my job, I was like, okay, I guess I'll go work on this other side project I have. It, pays like 75% or so what I make with my main job. But at least I was making money instead of doing nothing.
Yeah.
Though I didn't spend as much time working on it as I should have. I played a lot more video games, of course. But, I got some decent hours. And turns out I still got paid for those days they told us not to work. Because they had to because of salary or something like that.
Here in a little bit, whenever you have those kind of days where they're just like, stop working, you can just bring your little PlayStation Classic in, play you some Jumping Flash, and then boom. There you go.
Well, I work from home, so I have all my consoles. So.
You play some Siphon Filter and learn the wonders of the 2,000-yard taser.
Yeah, so with all of that, they gave me a fair bit of time to play some games. I am now, to kind of close the loop on, I am now fully employed, getting my 8 hours a day, actually being able to work again.
Good.
Excellent.
Let's see. I don't think there's anything outside of gaming. We didn't even play D&D this week. Slackers.
It's not my fault.
Nope, not this time.
Damn.
Always blame the DM.
Oh, sure. The DM will remember that.
Steve better not remember it from me. I didn't say shit.
So continuing from last week, I've been playing quite a bit of Magic the Gathering Arena. I did not expect to get sucked in as much as I did, but I think one of the things is it's so easy to just open up and play a game. A game can last anywhere from a minute to 15 minutes, I think. I think the longest game I've had was probably 25 minutes, and that was a very interesting game that found me at, I want to say, my opponent had 40-something health, and I had 7. And then I came back to win it with like 50 health. So it was one of those very interesting matchups. But that's probably the longest one I've played. But they give you these little daily things you can do. And that kind of keeps you going. It's like, okay, well, a few more wins and I'll get another reward, Or if I do X amount of stuff, I'll unlock something. I don't even have to win the games to get rewards.
They're using that free-to-play model.
Yes, it is free to play, and you do have options. You can buy stuff, but you don't have to. If you play for, I think it rounds out to being exactly a week, doing the main daily. You get a deck a day, And on the 7th day, they unlock all the rest of the decks that are part of the starter batch.
Mhm.
So at the end of a week, you end up with, I want to say, 14, 15 decks, all free cards
Nice.
that you can do what you want with. When you get a deck, all those cards are part of your collection, and then you can build decks with those cards. You know, just like you would buy a normal deck and with physical cards. There are weekly quests and then daily quests. They're kind of broken out into, once you get past the first week has those extra deck quests. Those go away after the first week. Nothing replaces them, but you have basically 3 other slots to accomplish. The weekly is you get a pack of cards at 5, 10, and 15 wins, which isn't that bad. Even if you suck like me, it's not horrible to do. And you're getting a pack of cards at those intervals, so that's cool.
This sounds a lot like the model Blizzard used for Hearthstone.
You know, I'm having a hard time remembering because I played it and I was very frustrated that I couldn't get more cards. So they might have added on to it and made it easier to get into.
Mm-hmm.
But Hearthstone felt very pay to play to me. Even though it's a free to play model, it didn't feel like it when I played it. And I ended up dropping out and losing interest because of that.
Yeah.
I might need to go back and try it, especially now being more interested in Magic now.
Mm-hmm.
It might be worth me going back and revisiting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I remember when I first started out playing Hearthstone, I had to do a lot of the solo content before I broke into the online stuff to kind of build up you have the standard cards and then you have the basic cards, but the only way to get the basic cards is to actually let them walk you through the tutorial and be like, okay, beat this guy using only these cards.
Yeah, I did tutorial stuff.
Yeah, and once you got through that, then it was all about building up your deck. And you'll get absolutely crushed in ladder if you don't have a developed deck to build off of.
And that's kind of what I really liked about the Magic game is because they give you useful decks. Like when you first start, you get to choose essentially an elemental deck. Meaning it's let me rephrase, a mono element deck, I believe is a proper terminology for it. So I started out with the green deck because I'd seen it used a little bit, and I was kind of more familiar with those cards. It looked okay. Or no, actually I didn't pick the green because I watched that played, and I relied too much on the big, heavy mana costing bombs. I think I went with red first because I was like, all right, instants, I'll just burn my opponents as best I can and not have to worry about as much mana management and, trying to build up to these bombs. I'll just removal, direct damage, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a little rough. But as soon as I started getting the daily decks, those were dual element decks. So I think it first unlocks a green white deck or something like that, whatever. A Sapperling deck and all these other decks. It wasn't until I unlocked the black-white deck that's basically a lifesteal deck that I started actually winning. It took me a week, but I finally battled my way out of Bronze 4, the lowest rank, being technically negative because it took 4 games to get any progress on the bar. I finally made it to Bronze 3.
Good job.
I've stayed there. I've stayed there for now 4-5 days.
It's all about the small. You got to claw your way up to the top.
And I'm like halfway through Bronze 3. I win some, I lose some. I've got about a 50% win rate, I'd say. But I'm only if I use this black-white deck.
Yeah,
if I use any other deck, I get murdered. I could probably use the Merfolk deck and do okay because that deck's OP as hell. But I like the black-white deck. I like the lifesteal and seeing my hit points go up to 50 before my opponent finally gives up or I crush them or something. Mm-hmm. Or making them drop to negative 40 just because of the pure amount of damage I can do in one turn.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fun. And I don't know if after playing this I could go back to a Hearthstone model.
See, Hearthstone's model is card synergies. You want to see how many card interactions you can get. You want to chain them together. You want to make them interesting. they have different things. That Blizzard actually just killed like 4 of my fucking decks the other day. With they put out 2 nerfs, and they nerfed one which was like a mage basic card. Okay, and it was a 1 mana, 1/3 that gained 1 attack power every time you casted a spell. It was a Mono Worm, and they nerfed it from 1 mana cost to 2 mana cost, and that just completely wrecked my my decks for this, because turn 1 you could throw the Mono Worm down, pop the coin, that's a spell, and then pop another spell, a 1-point spell, and bam, now it's got 3 attack, and you just hit them with a spell.
Right.
And now it's turn 2. Now you can't do that at all. So that ruins the tempo of that deck.
Yeah.
And then they absolutely slaughtered this one great card they had this expansion. It was a 5 mana cost, 2 attack 1 that spawned 2 Divine Shield, which can basically take a hit without taking any damage. Spawned 2 taunt minions that had Divine Shield. They completely destroyed that thing, so it's completely unplayable now. So I'd take that off all my decks. So I was going through and reworking decks the whole of like 2 weeks ago. It's like, yep, every time I see these cards, they've got to go.
Yeah.
And these were great control decks. They'd slow down the match. If you were, you start to get overwhelmed, well, it's going to take at least 2 hits to kill each one of these things. So, you got a little time to breathe. Maybe they won't get on top of you by the end of the next turn. Nope. Blizzard's like, nah, you can't have that anymore.
Yeah, so I'm not well versed enough with the cards and smart enough with gameplay overall to build my own decks. I built one that does kind of okay, but it's basically a so the white deck I play is basically a 50-50 split between white and black. I kind of built a modified version, adding some cards and adding more copies of cards to make it more white with basically a splash of black instead. It is okay, but it doesn't play as well as the one they give you. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I tried it. I won a game with it. I lost a game with it, but it didn't feel good. It didn't feel like a good deck. Didn't have that synergy you want out of it. So I'm just
that's one of my favorite parts of Hearthstone is going around and like, okay, what card do I not like having in my hand? This one. Get rid of that card. Replace it with this. Let's see how it feels now. And oh man, it's just one of the cool things, and it's a great game to pass the time with. It's a lot of little strategery going on, and jockeying for position, a little bit of trash talk. Cool game.
And so on top of the weekly quests, there are I'm trying to think exactly. There's 2 sets of daily rewards. One is nothing but coins, which you can use to purchase stuff. I'll talk about in a minute. And the other is coins and cards. So basically, it alternates. I think the first 2 are coins. It's like 250 coins and 100 coins, and then it's a card, and then it's 100 coins, and it's a card, and it's 50 coins. It starts going down in coins, but you basically get a card every other time, and it's a random card from whatever. I don't know what the source of those cards are rewarding. I haven't actually paid enough attention to it, but they're cards, I'm playing against and I'm playing with and stuff like that. So they're relevant cards, but again, it's costing me nothing to do that. And that's up. The card and coins are 15 per day for wins. So you get 15 rewards per day. The other one is more, I don't know if there's a pattern to it yet, but it's basically a random objective. Like play 20 white and or red spells or something like that, So they're basically trying to encourage you to play a white-red deck or a black-white deck, They're trying to get people to try different stuff. I usually just use what I'm using.
Very similar. Very similar. It sounds really awesome though, because I'm glad Magic was the premier card game, and Blizzard actually beat them to the punch getting on, a mobile platform or whatever. And I'm glad that Magic now has their, the OG card game has its own really awesome game to go along with it, because that was a spot in the market that needed some competition.
Yeah, and this isn't the first Magic card game, video game either. But not only is it free to play, but the other ones aren't as good as this one, apparently. They're much more complicated. This one has a better user interface.
Mm-hmm.
The model is better from what I understand. I think the other ones you just had to straight up buy cards. I don't think they had any way to, earn them. But with the coins you get, and they have two types of currencies, coins and gems. With coins, the most basic thing you can do is buy a pack. 1,000 coins, which I think you can make like 1,500 per day. Mm-hmm. So you can get a pack of cards a day if you do all your dailies, which I've done multiple days, just playing casually. I'll play a game in the morning. I'll play a game after work, before I start streaming, another game, another, triple A PlayStation game or whatever.
How often in these decks that you get,
mm-hmm.
do you find yourself getting like those really good, those really rare cards?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I mentioned this before last week, but you actually, as you earn cards, I can't recall the exact mechanic yet because I am still figuring out all this stuff, but every so often you will get, sometimes from packs, but you also earn them just straight up, I think, by opening packs. It ticks a counter up, and every, say, 7 packs you open, you get a uncommon wild card or something like that. So you get these wild cards for each rarity tier, and you can pick any card, and put it in your deck and use one of those wild cards, and you now have that card.
That's cool.
So if there's a rare card you want, you have a wild card, you just go pick it out of the deck builder, slide it over, it prompts you, says, do you want to use a wild card? You say, yes, why I would like to. And it says, all right, here's your card. Easy as that. So
nice.
I'm loving this model. I don't feel pressured at all to buy stuff. And if I ever did, it'd just be to support the thing, because I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your opinion on. I'm sorry to keep going back to Hearthstone. I know you're talking about Magic, but I really would like to see how you compare and contrast the two with a second look at it.
Yeah, it'll be rough, but I'll probably go back eventually and try it. It probably won't be anytime soon because of all the other stuff I have going on,
mm-hmm.
Which I'll get into a little bit after this. But I'm thinking that the model's probably changed enough that's probably going to be pretty similar in some senses. Like with the talking about the currency still, like I said, every 1,000 coins you can buy a pack, or you can save it up. Or I say save it up, but the price really varies from 500 gold to 2,000 gold to participate in a draft or a pre-constructed deck event that has a special theme to it. Like right now, there's a one that only costs 500 to enter, but you can only use cards that are common ranked. You can't use anything above a common ranked card in a 60 card deck. You pay 500 coins, you're allowed entry, you play until you lose 2 games, and depending how many you win, you get a reward. Up to, I think it's typically like 7 wins is the max. So if you, I want to say 4 or 5 is a break-even point, and then after that you're actually making profit back. And you'll actually, on some of them, earn gems, which can also be used to enter these events. And gems is kind of the pay-to-get currency, but I have yet to see something that costs gems that doesn't have a coin equivalent. So there's nothing like locked behind a paywall that I've seen, which is great. I love that. If you're going to have a pay-for model, have a free version as well, I'm good.
Yep.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea how much time I've put into this game because I've only streamed 2 hours of it, but I probably played 30 hours of it because it was
That's
15
not your
minutes
fault,
here,
man.
30 minutes
It's like
there.
You get
It's
lost
like we
in
discussed
the zone.
before. It just seems to be something that game companies are not getting on board with. Like, give me a way to track my time. Come on. This needs to be a standard.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's not on Steam, so I don't get that tracking.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't
and
know if
also, this is a beta. I mentioned that last week, but Adam, this is a beta version of it too, so
that's cool.
it's only going to get better. You know, it has some minor issues like the matchmaking and the whole rank thing. Like I was talking about last week, I believe I was technically negative on the back end because I would have to win 4 games to see any progress. So that needs some work. But I was pleasantly surprised that as soon as I got a loss on Bronze 3, I didn't drop to 4 immediately. I went up a fair amount and then I dropped a little bit, went up a little bit. It seems more balanced after getting out of 4. Even though I started in 2 and had 1 loss, I went to 4. So that was whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But so that needs some work. But overall, I mean, solid design, solid UI, everything. So another beta, talk a little bit more about this week, is the Fallout 76 beta. I played just over 2 hours of it in the last week. I think it was Saturday's window I played. I skipped Sunday because of a different game I was playing, and I know this week they have a lot more windows and actually extended one of them because there was an issue where people were having to reload the game. So they extended the window to be like 8 hours for one of the days. So people can have a lot more time to play, which is great. Good on them. It's a beta, so they didn't have to do that. But good on them. So the big takeaway from this week's Fallout 76 beta experience was I had my first PvP interaction.
Uh-oh.
So I'm wandering around. I've had nothing but positive experiences with players, no PvP, all, kind of co-oping, working together, or just ignoring each other, basically. Shooting enemies if we're both there, I mentioned last week that corpse loot is shared. I don't know if that's 100% true. Because I'm fairly certain now I've seen someone looting a body, but when I went back to it, it still had stuff on it. And it's not stuff that you would want to leave,
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's some... I feel like it's kind of an in-between. I think there's a chance you'll both get loot, or a chance, one of you will and not the other. I don't know. I'd be curious to actually look online and see if someone's determined how the loot works, but I do know container loot is separate. World loot is separate. Just enemy loot has this weird, possibly shared, possibly not, it's possibly in between thing. But that's most of my interactions with other people is, hey, we're being attacked by ghouls, we're doing an event, we're doing whatever. Not talking to each other. I didn't use the voice chat at all during this whole thing. Because I don't want to listen to people online. I'm sorry. I don't. I hate in-game voice communication outside of like MMOs because it's just so toxic and worthless most of the time that I didn't even plug my headset in.
10-year-old just screaming profanity at you.
Yeah. I don't want that. So I just no audio. So I was exploring a new area. One of the main quest lines wanted you to go here, but I'd been doing side stuff halfway across the map, just exploring and testing stuff out. So I walk in the building. There's another guy wandering around. I hear his footsteps, and I keep stopping because I think it's a bad guy. And I'm like, okay. I see his name, like, okay, it's just that guy. So another guy walks up, and I'm looting something or whatever, I just killed an enemy, I think. And all of a sudden, he shoots me. And I'm like, okay. Earlier on, I had been shot at, but it was before level 5, which meant PvP wasn't a thing. They didn't damage me. They couldn't PvP me. So I just ignored and moved on. Well, knowing at this point I'm level 7, PvP is enabled, I turn around and draw my gun, and sure enough, he keeps shooting me. So I start shooting him. He turns red. Now he's an enemy, PvP is enabled. Because the way it works is that the first shots on someone don't do as much damage to give that person an opportunity to kind of determine if they want to participate in PvP or not. Because if like someone's super over leveled, you're going to turn and run. And
I remember them making a point about this at the conference. They were like, that your first shot's going to yada, yada, yada. It's cool to actually hear that you see it in action now.
Yeah, because if you turn and you're back and run and someone shoots you in the back and kills you, they become wanted on the server. And they're a target and they show up on the map and everything for other people to go after. So I turn around and shoot because the guy's like he was 2 levels higher. He's level 9, I was level 7. Distinctly remember that because I was trying to find him afterwards. So he kills me because my weapon I was using sucked. Even though I was in power armor, had a little bit of defense boost, I didn't seem to do any damage to him. Next thing I know, I'm dead. So I'm like, all right. And as I'm respawning, I'm like, all right, now I get to see what I lost. And as I remembered after the fact, once I looked at my inventory, I was like, right, you lose all your junk, which is your most important stuff despite the name. I'm like, great. I lost like 3 hours worth of junk I'd been collecting.
Wow.
Because I wasn't storing stuff. I just, stored it when I was full or wanted to craft, and I just happened to go back.
That'd have been the end for me. I'd have been like, yep, done for the night.
Going to bed. So I was like, well, that sucks. Because I went back, and I realized that once I went to a workstation, it really hit when it's like, you don't have the materials to craft anything. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. All this stuff I had, I just collected so much stuff outside this building. So I didn't even have a chance to drop it off, really. But I went back. So what really kind of annoyed me, and again, not sure exactly if I'm right or not on this, but it seems like after, like right away, when you respawn, it says, do you want to get revenge? I hit yes, and it made my little quest, my current quest, going after him. Right. But that seemed to go away really quick. So it's almost like he logged off after killing me to switch worlds or to switch servers. So I couldn't go back and kill him in retaliation.
Wow.
I checked the world list, so I knew he was level 9. And I didn't see any online players that were level 9 and matched what I thought his name was. Because I was like, oh yeah, that guy's level 9, but he's the one I was running around with me, not killing me. So I think he actually switched worlds or servers or something, and I don't like the idea of that.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't overly upset about losing the junk. I didn't really need it at the time, and a lot of it was replaceable. I didn't have any real rare junk. I'm still missing stupid duct tape, whatever it is. Sticky stuff. Which is the bane of Fallout 4 as well. Still missing that. Didn't have a lot in my inventory then, but so I wasn't too concerned. It was more that I couldn't go get revenge on him afterwards, or even try. I probably couldn't have, but I wanted to at least try again with a different weapon and better strategy and stuff.
The fact that ability and option is there is awesome, and then you're like, all right, fuck yeah, let's go try this out. Oh, I can't.
Well, what they ought to do is create a little NPC version of him that can actually lose his equipment for him. So if you do auto log out, like a little warning appears and says, hey, you just PvP'd somebody within the last 10 minutes, so your avatar is going to remain in the game for the next 15 minutes. And if they kill it, they're taking their stuff back.
Or done. Just, persistent server. So if you log out and you're just done, that's still crappy to do, but okay. But if you just go back to the main screen and then go back into a different server, that's where I think you're being a complete scumbag, Which I don't know if that's what he did. He may have DC'd. He may have been there and the game just didn't show me his stuff anymore. There's so many reasons it could have been. But I'm just assuming he's a scumbag. Because, first off, he attacked me. So, at level 9.
What if this was like Bethesda's like nanny state kind of thing. And they were like, do you want revenge? And you were like, hell yeah, I do. And they were like, all right, we're going to put you on a different server then. You two boys don't fight. We're going to have to separate you two.
I can see it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I give kudos to Bethesda for doing the things that they're doing. I see the strides they're trying to make towards, look, we understand that we're putting this online, and thereby we understand that there are shitty players out there, so we're going to try to add these things like the, first shot not doing damage that much and having the bounty and all that stuff. Like, it's good. The problem that they're going to see now, that they're already seeing, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they continue to go forward with this mentality, is that if you do one thing, the asshole is going to do another thing to thwart it. And if you do something to patch that up, they're going to find a way. A troll is going to find a way to troll.
Yeah.
They will find a way to grief you.
Yeah. Yes, a griefer's going to grief. They're going to find ways around this to do this. And it does not matter if it takes half an hour out of their life to make it to where, no, I fucked Chris's game up and I'm good. And I've just got to do all this other wonky walk around bullshit to make it where I get away with it scot-free. They'll do it. So hats off to you, Bethesda, for trying to meet this challenge head on and go, yeah, okay, we're not dumb. We know these griefers exist. We know this shit exists. But a lot of other companies have seen that too. We'll see how far you continue to go forward with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still like the idea of the persistent avatar within a window after you've PvP'd. Or done any, and when I say PvP, I mean like violence against someone's property. So if you stole something in the game, or if you shot at one of their turrets, or shot their dog, or something like that, then you've got a little cooldown period before you can log out safely. And I think that a good idea would be, okay, you have like a bed or a base or something like that in the game, then the little avatar should just start beelining straight to that. And, 15 minutes or when they reach the base, it ends. You know what I mean? And I think that would be a fair way to do it. The only other way to do it is persistent server, but I still see people logging out. Even if they just go, I'm going to take a 15-minute break to go eat a burrito, and he'll have cooled off by then and forgot about me.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from playing the beta in general is that most of my enjoyment of Fallout 76 is going to be on a private server.
Yeah.
I'm going to play with friends. I'm not going to PvP. Probably, period. That's just not a part of the game I'm interested in. I mean, some of the mechanics seem cool, like in-game PvP type stuff, but not just random killing each other on the map for no reason, If you want to do base invasions, that's a whole nother thing. That's totally cool as long as, you're not like raiding a level 2 person, or a level 6 person, I guess.
Welcome to Rust. Fallout Rust.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but overall, it felt like more Fallout 4, which I enjoyed. Say what you will about the game. A lot of people don't like it, but I enjoyed it. It feels like more of that with a little bit on top. I talked about last week. I like the card perk system. I think that's an interesting way to do it, and it works from what I've seen so far. Everything else is kind of the same. There's a little bit more crafting. There are some quality of life changes to menus and stuff like that to make them a little friendlier. I still don't understand why Y is jump, on a Xbox controller. Makes no sense to me, but sure. Going from Assassin's Creed Odyssey to Fallout 76, I was like, oh god. And then I went back, and then I went to Spider-Man, and I was like, my brain cannot keep up with these controls.
That reminds me of going between, what was it? It was Metal Gear 5 and The Witcher.
Yes. You and I had the same experience almost at the same exact time.
It was so horrible because they both have a horse, and the horse controls are absolutely the antithesis of each other.
Going for so many hours of controlling a horse, controlling the horse, in fucking Metal Gear Solid 5, stopping and then going to Witcher and just horribly abusing Roach.
It's like, how many times can you slam into this fence because you forgot to jump? Let me count.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think Fallout 76 is going to be a great game. But like I said, I'll probably play it on private server. Just so I don't have to deal with griefers and stuff like that. Get a better experience overall.
I completely agree and understand.
The third game I have to talk about, and final game. All right. So
the intensity is
last week.
Chris has gotten real good at building intensity.
So last week, I had asked a question about a game, and my understanding was you weren't going to play it, and I didn't know Adam would be on here, so I didn't even ask Adam. But Adam, I'll go ahead and ask you before I start talking about it.
Uh-oh.
Have you played, or are you going to play Red Dead Redemption 2?
I am definitely going to.
Oh, Chris, this is so good.
So I went, okay, we can't be a podcast that doesn't play one of the most anticipated games of the year.
God.
So I was like, all right, I don't really have an interest in the game, but I'll go. I watched a little bit of it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can see it. And I went, I bought it. I technically pre-ordered it because it was like 4 hours until it was released.
Yeah.
So here's my summary. Here's my bottom line for you before I even talk about it.
Okay.
When we talk about games, when we look at other Game of the Year awards, next month or whenever they are, in December, we're going to see Red Dead Redemption 2 on there.
Oh,
However,
definitely.
I will not be one voting for it.
Oh,
okay.
Man. Surprising.
This game, right now, is currently top of my most overrated game of 2018.
Wow.
Wow.
Some heavy swings you're taking off. What did John Marston do to you?
Now let me give you some information, all right?
Okay.
Never played the first one. That's out there. Never played the first one. Don't know anything about it. Had never cared to know anything about it.
Okay.
I'm going into this fresh. All right. I have put in 26 and a half hours.
Okay.
That's a good time.
It's a good chunk of time. Really good chunk of time.
Yep. I am 44% done with the story. 45% done overall. So only 1% more of side stuff despite hours doing side stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So I actually took some notes once I realized how this was going.
Good.
I decided to make 3 columns. Good, neutral, bad.
Okay.
Should have called it the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I really thought about it, but I wanted neutral to actually not be ugly, so...
Right. Sorry, Clint Eastwood. You didn't win this time.
But the thought was there, so give me at least partial credit, all right?
You get a half point for that.
All right, fair enough. I'll accept it, especially coming from Adam.
My points are worth 10 times.
Yeah, what are shitty guest points even worth these days?
The best.
They're worth the orange and black candy in the Halloween bags. That's what they are.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
All right. So one of the biggest, and I do have to apologize to you, Michael. I asked you for that source on the post you made. I have not listened to it yet because I want to get more time under my belt.
That's totally fine.
I do have another podcast I want to listen to as well to get their insight on it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to be tainted with how I'm feeling about the game as I play it right now.
Just full disclosure for the audience, I'm going to bring up that quote and specifically talk about it because I actually had planned on talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 in this episode. So the fact that Chris is going all this, it's all going to work out. Just continue to listen and we'll talk about that quote and all the other talks around it. But please, by all means, Chris, the floor is yours.
All right. So with what little I have listened about it, listened to people talk about it, one of the common consensuses is that the game is very slow.
Take your time is what I've gathered.
No.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You do not have a choice but to take your time.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not a good thing at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's a couple different ways it's slow. Early game, it's slow story. It's a slow build up, which, okay, I'm fine with that. You know, it ramps up. You have a crescendo, a climax, and then, you know, a payoff at the end. All right, I get that. No, I don't really have an issue with that. My issue is kind of overall the game plays slow. Getting from one place to another, super slow. Traversing the world, super slow, not that satisfying. There's fast travel, but it's extremely limited. And you actually have to unlock additional fast travel later on, which is only one-way fast travel. So it's like, okay, I have to... So I'm out in the middle of nowhere. No cities nearby, so no fast travel points. I literally have to ride for a literal 20-30 minutes to get somewhere to do something else. And on that way, that's all travel time. So I've wasted so much time, gotten nothing out of it.
Huh.
To make it worse, there is no auto run unless you're in cinematic mode or you're in particular missions that let you hold X, which is an auto run. Holding a button is not auto. You're controlling it, you know. Yeah, so that has killed a lot of the early enjoyment of the game for me. Now that I've unlocked some more fast travel stuff, it's a little bit better. But it's still just such a ridiculously slow thing.
So out of your 20-something hours, how much of it would you attribute to traveling?
Like 75% of it.
Holy shit. So it's like 18 hours of traveling and 6 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, now some of that's mission related where you have dialogue going on with it. A large chunk of it is I'm by myself running from point A to point B on my stupid horse, and there's nothing interesting happening. Sometimes you have these little side things that pop up. You know, you have these random events on the side of the road. You get ambushed by rival gangs, or, you know.
It's supposed to be like Grand Theft Auto on horseback.
See, it's like Grand Theft Auto if you only have the county, not the city part. Where you have all this road, but no buildings. Nothing but trees. There's nothing to interact with from point A to point B, but you're going at the speed of horse versus the speed of car. So instead of it taking 30 seconds to get past through a segment, it takes you 20 minutes.
When I played the first one, I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about with the auto run thing. Maybe that's something they changed, but he ran normally. He had a sprint that he could do, and the horses had a sprint as well.
I'm talking about the horse riding when I say auto run. Yeah.
Yeah.
The person doesn't have an auto run. Your character doesn't have an auto run. You can auto follow if you hold the button and hold a certain combination of buttons while you're in a mission. You can log onto someone and hold X and you'll pace them, essentially. Same thing on a horse. But the auto run I'm talking about is if you go to cinematic mode, you press X or hold X to get whatever speed you're supposed to be traveling at. It will then follow a marker path, basically a GPS waypoint system.
Like Roach did in Witcher 3, Adam.
Okay.
How you could press a button and he would automatically get back on a path and go down that
same for
path
Assassin's
to a point.
Creed.
He would stay on the road or whatever. Okay. Yeah.
But not as well done.
Because you could like sprint Roach down the road and he would still follow the road as long as you didn't put any left-right movements in.
Yeah, only in cinematic mode will it do that. So cinematic mode is the only thing I have in my neutral category. I think it's an interesting capability, but one, they have bars on the screen. So while the different angles, and GTA cinematic mode wasn't that great, it's not useful in a car when you're traveling and you can't see in front of you. Same thing with cinematic mode on here. I need to see what's in front of me, so I know if I need to end cinematic mode, if I need to leave it up or turn. if I can't see what's in front of me, I'm screwed. I've been ambushed by enemies because I didn't see them on the road in front of me until they were attacking me and shooting me.
And for the audience that's just curious what we mean by cinematic mode, the idea is, as we said, your character on horseback will go into basically an auto path. Mm-hmm. So imagine you are on a road, and if you physically walk down this road or took your horse down this road, if you wanted to get from point A to your destination, you'd have to go down this long path, take a left, up there take another right, or take a right, then up there take another right, take another left, go down a long path. With cinematic mode, if you hold a button, your horse, one, will automatically just go down that path. But the important part, what the cinematic part means, is the camera will start shifting and moving and take different aspects. The idea is to take the time of day, to take the scenery, to take certain points of interest and focus on them instead of just the camera behind your character.
Right.
So it's almost like watching a cinematic / movie version of your travel. It plays well for a while. I mean, there are some breathtaking sunsets and mountain views and valleys and all this. But then again, it's still cinematic. It's still traveling. Yeah. So you're like, okay, come on.
you can click in the right stick. I'm playing on PS4. I don't even know what all it released for. I think it was everything, except for PC yet.
Motherfucker.
Game Boy Advance was first release.
What?
Game Boy Advance. That's what I'm going to get release.
It on. I think it was Xbox One and PS4.
I want to fucking see it on Game Boy Advance now.
So I'm playing on PS4 Pro,
it's like a 2D
which will be important to my next points I'm going to make in a minute. But so you can click on the right stick, and it will actually change the angle in cinematic mode. So I go in cinematic mode, and then once it's going, I have to make sure it's going first of all. I toggle until I get as much of the forward view as I can, and hope it doesn't change because something gets in the way, because it will still auto shift off that if it's like if a tree is kind of at that spot where it's not gonna, it kind of bumps the camera, I guess, if you will, on the back end. It'll shift out of that mode because I guess it's assuming you're not seeing anything at that point. So I understand the concept of it, and I get that it's an interesting feature that some people will like. I've seen people on Twitch that are playing in only cinematic mode, essentially with no HUD. So that's an awesome concept for them to do. I wouldn't do it because I need the HUD. I can barely do it with the HUD. But yeah, so the whole traveling thing that's been the biggest issue for me. I've wasted so much time.
It's also funny that you mentioned the control thing, that forgetting controls and going from one game to another. I was listening to the Easy Allies podcast today, and they were talking about doing that. I think Ian Hink was talking about going from Red Dead over to Spider-Man and then going back. He's like, for one, I already forgot most of the controls in Spider-Man, and I was getting my ass kicked by people that had fucking rods in their hands.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Red Dead 2, which I don't know if you had this marked on your list or not, but holy fucking Christ, I've heard the controls in this game are crazy. There's so many control schemes and abilities and options to learn and memorize, and it's actually overwhelming. And to further that point, he said, man, I dread if he's like, I have to go through Red Dead now in one shot. I cannot play this game for a few weeks and drop it and then come back to it like a month later, because I will have forgotten basics, much less all this extra shit that 6 hours in I'm still learning new control stuff. Oh wow.
And the thing is, like, the first game was totally awesome, and I understand, like, does it still have the Deadeye mode? I haven't followed this game at all.
Yes, I have a point to make about that too.
Oh god. Let's hear it.
So I'll go ahead and talk about that. The Deadeye mode is one of the best features of the game.
They call it Eagle Eye mode now, right? Or Eagle Vision?
No.
Or is that something different?
That's Assassin's Creed. It's
Eagle Eye. God. Never mind. Fuck me.
No, it's still Deadeye. And it's great. I love it. The issue is it's way too limited. You burn out of your... And Did Red Dead 1 have cores for your stats? For your stamina, health, and Deadeye?
I do believe your Deadeye could go up somehow.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't think it had core stats, though. I don't recall it.
I don't remember them
probably
having
just had the bars.
stats. I remembered the bar like getting longer or something like that. I can't, it's been so long.
Yeah, it's basically a bar gauge type thing around a circle, and in the middle is a core. And once the core is out, I guess it doesn't recharge, or it recharges super slow or something like that. Honestly, the 20-something hours in the game, I don't fully understand how cores work. I just always assume I'm not going to have Deadeye to use, so I play most of the game without it. And I'll actually fill up the core before I know I'm going to have a shootout, and then hope I get enough kills with it to, let me get through the rest with reasonable
see, what I remember,
accuracy and stuff.
What I remember from the first game was that it started off and you could only do it for like a couple seconds. At the end of the game, John Marston is so awesome that you almost win the spoilerific final shootout.
Just from the Deadeye, yeah.
Yeah, the Deadeye's like, there's 30 people here, 25, 26, oh.
Yeah. I mean, and my stat is going up, so I do get to use it more and more as time goes on, but still more in comparison to 5 seconds is 6 seconds, it's still not a long time. I'm still screwed for the rest of this, 40 enemy encounter. I love the system. It's great. I love getting those headshots, especially once you can manually mark, because it's weird that they even start out where you can't manually mark. Basically, the way it starts out is when you hover over an enemy, it puts X's on them.
Same way
as long as you're hovering over them.
Same way it worked in the first game.
Now later on, you hover over them, it doesn't mark unless you press, the R1 button.
Yeah, and then you begin to be able to shoot their hands or their kneecaps or their shoulder or their head. Yeah.
So it's a great system. I love it. I just need more of it. If I had more of it, that would be so much better.
Yeah, I remember because in the first game, you'd be like, oops, I accidentally put 6 shots in the first dude. I'm going to have to reload before I get to the second. Because, you swooped over him for too long and 60 X's appeared on him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... I basically didn't use it early on because of that. And that seems to be a common theme amongst what little I've heard other people say.
I want you to clarify something for me, Chris, because I don't have the ability right this minute because we're recording to go back and listen. But I think I heard it was either the Easy Allies or the Two Best Friends. Remember, all the major everybody's talking about this game right now,
mm-hmm.
so stories are getting mixed. But I think it was Two Best Friends. I think Pat was talking to Wooly about how the Deadeye works as far as hunting goes. He's like, all right, so you pull up Deadeye and you find an animal's tracks on the ground. And then...
That's a different mode.
Okay, is that the Eagle Vision thing?
That might be what they're... I don't know if that's the name of it. I honestly don't know if I've ever seen it named anything. It may just be...
There's a lot involved.
Yeah.
It's like you have to pull up a vision to Adam. I'm not shitting you here, and Chris could give you more details than I can, but you have to see the scent marks coming off of your own body because you're wanting to watch which way the wind is blowing. Because if the wind is blowing your scent to where the deer tracks are going, that means the deer is going to smell you and get away from you.
So basically,
you have to tracks. You have to get around it or track something else that's not downwind of you. Like, it's that level of shit goes on in this game.
Dead Red Geralt of Rivia.
Yes. Yeah. If you took Witcher 3 and just took the time,
gave him a 6-shooter,
turned that fucking time dial way down, you got Red Dead.
Here's what I do to hunt because I don't give a shit about any of those mechanics. And for a game this slow, I don't have time to sit there and track an animal for a month downwind or upwind rather, crouching, making sure I don't scare it. Someone in a Twitch chat made one single comment that changed my Red Dead hunting life. They said you can lasso medium-sized enemies or animals.
Oh,
I said, awesome. So now my hunting, I get on my horse, I chase a fucking deer down, I lasso it, and I go up and I shank it in the neck. Because you know what?
Wow.
Not only did I ignore all those other mechanics about wind and bullshit, but I also don't ruin the pelt, which is a stupid mechanic.
I know I've told you this before, just offhandedly when we were talking about something else, but I want to know if you tried it.
Yes.
Did you lasso the fucking puma?
Yes. Oh, wait. Say that one more time?
The fucking puma. Did you lasso the goddamn puma?
Nah.
Damn it. You find a mountain lion, you lasso it, and then you quit the game before you fucking put it down.
Okay.
It's the coolest shit ever. He's like, oh, I done fucked up.
I want to tell you this, Chris. I'm sorry, Adam, because I thought about you the entire time I was watching this. So one of the gameplays that I have watched was Giant Bomb. They did like a 2.5, 3 hours, some crazy long playthrough of it. They made it a point. What they were asking, they were taking a chat poll and saying, hey, if you guys, we're just going to play this game. We're not going to do any story stuff. We're just going to fuck around in this game. So in the chat, if you guys, and mind you, this is Giant Bomb's chat, so there's like 17 billion people in this chat. And like, if you have anything you'd like us to just do, anything to just fuck around and try, and it could be simple stuff like, hey, go get a haircut, see what that situation's like. Go start a fire, go hunt a bear, all this stuff. Somebody, Adam, said, find somebody, lasso them, put them on a train track, steal a train, and run them over. Thought about you. Yep. Thought about you. They did it. So they made this. The people in chat made this question or the suggestion after for one, they got to steal a train. So I watched them like hold up a train and steal the train, and they're just riding the train down the tracks. And somebody's like, "Hey, can you run somebody over?" And they went all the way through it. They stopped the train. They got out. They found somebody. They lassoed them up. It took them a little bit of hassle to get them on the track, but they got them on the track. They ran back and got the train, but unfortunately, they ran so far back that apparently, if you leave somebody lassoed by themselves unattended for like 30 seconds, they can wriggle free and get out. So they got away. And I was like, oh no.
See, that's not what I did. What I did was I was just riding around, minding my own business, and my, 4-year-old daughter walks by and goes, Daddy, tie the woman up. And I was like, okay, well, I can do that.
That's what I mean.
This is
That's why I thought about you.
Yep. And then she goes, Daddy, put her on the train tracks. And I was like, what? And she looked at me with the evil grin.
Yep.
And then she started rubbing her hands together like, yes, this is my
So apparently
thing.
you can do that in this game too, just higher detail.
And it gives you an achievement.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I forgot that part.
So,
yeah.
There you go. There's your 2 things to do when you get back in the game.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that at some point. I'm gonna hit some more points on my list.
That's fine. That's fine.
So, graphically, the world looks great. It is a pretty good looking game. And I did say I'm playing on PS4 Pro, so my next comment, keep that in mind. The world looks better than the characters. There are a lot of cutscenes where the characters look pretty good, but then there are others where they look like PS3 game, models.
Wow.
There are that may be an exaggeration, but I'm playing on PS4 Pro. I shouldn't be seeing these differences. I shouldn't be going, this doesn't look like it belongs in a PS4, game.
Chris, you're just gonna spit in the face of those people that worked 100-hour work weeks.
I don't know how you can tell the difference between a PS3 and a PS4 game.
I should go back. I tell you what, I'm gonna maybe if
I'd have to actually take a look because I really, when I think of I think the last big jump was 2 to 3, wasn't it? 3 had some pretty photorealistic people. 3 was pretty good.
I can agree with that.
It's not a literal comparison.
Okay.
But if I'm not too lazy, I might actually go back and I was seeing it in my gameplay today, which I was streaming, so I can go back to my VOD and actually take a couple different screenshots and put them side by side from the same game, the same session, the same characters, and go, these don't match up.
Damn.
Or these characters look great, these look terrible, and they're all, up in your face, I'd say main character type situations.
You should take it and you should edit it and you should put Chris Redfield from Resident Evil 1. This blocky, faceless body.
So
I can agree with you, Chris. I can even see what you mean from the gameplay that I've seen.
Mhm.
I kind of got the same vibe when I played like Grand Theft Auto 5. You know, like the character models and their animations, I could see how they were going for more realistic looking people, but the graphics themselves didn't match up. Whereas I can get in my car and holy shit, that car looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And as I'm driving down a street in wherever 3 places I am, like a housing complex looks wow, fucking great. And then I cut to a cutscene, it's like, your animation is top notch, but your actual character animation is a little off.
Yeah, so like in Red Dead, the trees look great, the grass looks great, the mountain scenery looks great, but then you put the characters in front of it, it's like those don't match, and even character shots from one to another don't match, and it's not consistent, which isn't good. But it's not a huge thing for me, you know.
That doesn't
I didn't
sound like
complain
something
about
they'll patch
Andromeda,
out.
so it's not a deal breaker for me by any means.
Yeah.
Like the stuff you said about the travel and the stuff you said about like the meters and stuff like that, if that was poorly received by the community, they could make some minor alterations and patch that kind of stuff out. But when you start talking about character models, oh nope, that shit's not gonna fucking change.
I'm gonna tell you, and again, this is only coming from somebody all 3 of my major networks I've either watched gameplay and or listened to the reviews. And I want to say, I think Two Best Friends made this quote. I think Pat made this quote, is that this game is not meant to be a straight, solid video game. This is a slow-paced cowboy simulator, bar none. It is designed, the gameplay itself is designed to look, we're taking a lot of those conveniences that you know in games. We're taking out those 2 and 3 button presses, and you're going to have to do stuff. Like I watched on a Giant Bomb where he was like, look, this is everything I have to go through when I want to brew like a potion or do an alchemy kind of thing. And he's like, okay, all that took about 25 to 30 seconds. That was one. Now, in any other game, I could just set a quantity. I want to make 5. Nope. You got to do 1 and then do another and then do another. And he's like, look, if I want to cook food, I got to do this and then do this and then do this and then do this. Now I've cooked 1 piece of food. If I want to cook another piece, I got to do this again. And then this. Like,
You're talking about Kingdom Come.
Yeah. It's narratively designed. The game is designed as slow as the cowboy narrative is. So I don't think that Rockstar has gotten out ahead of this and warned people of this. People are finding this out after the fact. But it's not just Chris this is hitting. There are a lot of people. This game is having this is a very fence game. People are going from either this game is, the immersion is so awesome and the graphics back it up and it's so fun, to no, this game is too slow.
So basically,
like they have way pulled back on the things that we already know and what we look for today in a video game.
You gotta make like Cloud Strife and mosey your on ass out there, you know, just gonna just kind of dip it on in. I was one of those people that bought Kingdom Come, and I fucking loved it. I like slow games because you know, there's a. I don't want to like make it kind of sound elitist or anything, but I'm tired of the games where you have like a quest marker and fast travel is just something that you take for granted. And, you know, I kind of want to have a little bit of a, you know, okay, well, if you're going to go this far out, you better be prepared to make the trip back. You know?
Yeah.
And, it's something I've kind of missed ever since Morrowind. And I mean, you can always just not fast travel in a game. I get that.
Yeah.
But there's something about it not being there and not even being an option that just takes it off the table and lets you forget about it.
That's my argument against that mentality. Is that okay? When I played Breath of the Wild, and I'm so sorry we're stealing your week away, Chris, but apparently this is now the Red Dead Redemption episode. So, when I played Breath of the Wild, the first time I played it, the 300 plus hours I put into it, I played that game standard difficulty with everything on the HUD. Everything. I don't think I changed anything. Left it all the way it is. Second, third, however many times I played it now, I have made it to a minimalist hub because of choice. I don't need quest markers and main objectives and all that. If I want to, I can set a waypoint on my map, and that's something I'll use. But with that game, and I think we can make an understandable argument, that game as far as graphics and quality and environment, way, way underneath Red Dead Redemption 2. Way underneath even something like Witcher 3. Like, the grass detail is not the same in these two games.
Well, I think that was an aesthetic choice, though. That's not like a Demeriticus game.
That's not even my main point. I'm just making that point to say that in Breath of the Wild, I took the HUD down because I just liked exploring that world.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Now that I had played through the game for the first time and knew all the systems and had it all down pat, I chose to take that stuff down. I didn't need to really worry about quick travel or having way markers and all this stuff. These are things that we pretty much halfway expect these days in these games. This game has maybe 5 to 10% of what we are used to having, and the rest is not there at all, period. It's not a turn off. It's a don't have. Yeah. So when you're going through a game, I get the mentality of take your time. I'm looking at you, Persona 5. That was your loading screen. I get it. But there comes a point where you're like, okay, this is just infuriatingly too slow. Yeah. This is infuriatingly cumbersome. Yeah. Prime example, going from Persona 4 to Persona 5. In Persona 4, when I go through the trouble of creating new personas, there's 5, 6, 7 steps and a lot of luck involved in what I'm coming through. Persona 5 came behind that and said, okay, hey, we're going to make this stuff a little bit easier for you. There's still challenge a little bit. There's still a little bit of guesswork, but we're gonna back off the button presses. We're gonna back off the guesswork. We're gonna make this a little bit easier for you. That I appreciate. Yeah. Not making press X to win battle. I appreciate that as well. But if from what Chris is saying, and what a lot of people are echoing, is that this game is way too slow.
Yeah.
They backed the generational shit way up, and I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but mentally, just hearing that, I don't know if that vibes with me yet.
You did play the first one.
I get the cinematic aspect. I get the walk around the world and just see shit. And hey, man, relax.
Did you play the first one?
Yes, and that was I meant to mention that earlier. I think I mentioned it last episode. I went through the entirety of the first Red Dead Redemption, and unfortunately, this was kind of one of the reasons why I don't know still if I'm going to get this game or not. Is I made it through Red Dead. I put a lot of hours into it. I was into it, but once I finished it, I've never went back to it. Never had a desire to go back to it. I love the story. I love John Marston as a character. I'll tell you from an outside in, I love John Marston as a character. I love his wit. I love his character design, just the drawing, the animation of it, compared to Arthur, I believe is this new guy's name. Just for me, they feel like night and day characters. But I don't know. Nothing about finishing Red Dead 2 made me go, oh, I can't wait for the sequel. Red Dead 1 was a very good, very well tied up story for me.
Yeah.
So,
well, when I look at it, I say I could take more in that universe. I don't want them to fuck with John Marston's story any more than they already have.
Right.
Yeah, leave that.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go ahead and put the cork on that bottle. It's a good vintage. Throw it in the cellar and never touch it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Don't Hideo Kojima it.
But I'll go back to the vineyard. I want to see what else is here. You know? And that's my thoughts on Red Dead 2. But I would definitely like to see more. That's what's got me hyped. I don't mind. And if they've changed the pacing from the first game, I think that was a mistake because I think the first game got it right. Mm-hmm. There was enough stuff close enough together, and you were constantly, you had the little cinematics going back and forth between different places, but it wasn't such a big deal that it, it felt slow. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm not seeing this 20-minute trek. I mean, you could easily spend 20 minutes fucking riding your ass down to Mexico if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But, not unless you needed to. You know, there was one story part where there was one really long part, and they played a song. I do remember. What was the song? Oh my God! They played an entire 4-minute song while you were riding there, and it was cinematic as hell.
I have forgotten.
It was the longest.
I have forgotten so much about that game.
It was the longest ride in the game, and it was from this one town to Mexico, and they played a song the entire way. Can't remember what it was, but they made you pass the time that way, and then you could take a train back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get the immersion thing, and I think it would make more sense for it to be slow if it was more interesting. I don't feel it's kind of hard to say it in a nice way, but to be blunt, I'm not interested in a lot of the places I'm riding. It's a lot of more of the same. Hey, there's a bunch of trees. Hey, you're on a field. And the travel wouldn't be so bad. First off, if auto run without cinematic mode would be great. But that aside, I mean, what's the quickest route between two places? A straight line. So really, if you want to get there faster, don't follow the road to begin with. Which is another reason why cinematic mode is kind of useless, because I can't, run across the, plains like that. I have to follow the roads. But you often cannot go in a straight line because there are a million cliffs and ravines and drops that are like 5 feet and that kills your character, type things, and I understand the world isn't perfectly flat, you're not going to have perfectly flat terrain, but if you're not following a road, oftentimes you have no other route in certain areas. Certain areas are wide open, and that's cool. I will haul ass across the field, going over and hills and the dips and stuff, and it's fun to do that. It feels good, having that. It's a smooth motion, like you're actually traversing the terrain. It doesn't feel janky or anything like that, and that's enjoyable. Riding at high speeds, maxing out your horse's speed, that's fun. It's just you don't often get to do that because you have to follow roads. So if that was a little bit better, it wouldn't be as bad. And if it was more interesting, I feel like a lot of focus went into, first off, the cities, the towns, etc. Of course it did, but also only on key spots around the map. Other than that, there's a house over here, there's a farm over here, those things got love, but everything in between is all right. Trees, field, cliff, ravine. Nothing interesting about it,
Yeah.
No, really distinguishing landmarks that just draw you to it. There are great views, yes, but in general, it's a lot more of the same. I get immersion, but at the same time, why bother? After a couple hours, you've seen everything. Granted, you're not going to go to every area in those 2 hours, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Let me hit some more of my points. The characters are very interesting. Not only the main character, but some of the ones you just randomly run into. There are a sub category of NPCs that you interact with called strangers. Not to be confused with everybody in the game being a stranger that you don't know their name of. But these are particular strangers that give missions, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Kind of the equivalent of GTA 5 strangers, which were, like 10 or 20 side quests you could do.
Mm-hmm.
I need a drink of water. All right. But yeah, there's tons of interesting characters. The main characters. I love that you're not playing the big boss guy.
Yeah.
It is so nice. And I know I kind of I know that's not always the case, but it is a lot of the time,
Yeah. It fits I don't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry, but this is something that I do love about what I've seen so far. In this group of people, in this party, this roaming band of cowboys, Dutch is the leader.
Yeah.
But you're not playing the game as Dutch. You're playing as Arthur.
Yep.
Okay, this is the way real life works as well, because you will have you will have somebody who is a fucking badass. They are skilled at their job, at whatever. They just might not have leadership skills. So they're not the leader. They are the go-to guy. They are a highly sought-after subject matter expert at whatever it is they're doing. They're just not the greatest in the world at rounding up a bunch of like-minded people, but the leader is. So Dutch, he may not win a gunfight over Arthur, but he knows how to lead people, and he does. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. I like how real that is. You're not playing the big, quote unquote, the big cheese, but you are playing a very versatile character.
Yeah, and even well, it's a very apt comparison. I don't think Arthur would make a bad leader. I think in this scenario, it's just where he's fallen into, and he has his loyalty to Dutch that has kept him there for like 12 years. I think at one point he says he's been a part of this gang since he was a boy. Dutch took him in. He's like a father to him. So yeah, he's going to be his right-hand man, and he can lead. He leads when Dutch isn't around. He fills that role. He can. He absolutely can. But he doesn't need to because he has Dutch. Dutch is that role in his life and in the gang. And I love that interaction between Dutch and Arthur, John, and all the other characters. They have this synergy that makes this gang what it is, and that is so good. And that's what I mean by their interesting characters, their interesting synergy. Solid.
Just so the audience knows, you said you had 3 columns: bad, neutral, and good. Have you gone through all the bads and neutrals? No. Are you in the?
I've gone through. Okay. I only had 1 neutral. That's cinematic. I've only.
Gotcha.
I think touched really 2 of the bad ones.
Gotcha.
Well, what are the rest of
them? Well, I'm getting there. So interesting characters was the second thing on my good column. The third thing is, so far, solid story. Again, a lot of this story stuff comes back to the synergy of the gang and how interesting they are. The story around them, I'm interested and fairly invested in seeing what happens to them. What happens to these characters with their subplots and, overall, things that are happening. So the story, I'm enjoying. All right. Back to the bad column.
Oh.
So underneath slow, this is kind of a sub point, but I did put it on its own line. Long skinning animations.
Oh yeah, that's a holdover. So
yeah, and I think I heard someone say they were hoping it'd be better. I think they said it was worse.
Yeah, I heard it's worse.
Does he flip the knife? Does he still flip the knife right before he gets?
You flip the animal, and it'll actually transition to a different camera angle while you're doing it. It's so long.
Yes.
Totally contrary to what this is, and just to tell a quick story because she's still awake and listening to me right now. So I was watching, I want to say it was Giant Bomb do their playthrough, and I heard somebody say, hey, go skin something, or they said they were going to go skin something. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go skin this rabbit. And I told my wife. She was not watching this, by the way. She was watching her own. She was watching YouTube on her phone or something. She was not watching this at all. But just in case she happened to look up when this happened, I was like, just don't look right now. Something's bad about to happen. And of course, I made her look up, and she saw the guy kill a rabbit. She's like, nope. I was like, look down. Don't look. Don't look. So I'm watching. She's not, but I am. And then I watched that skinning animation of that rabbit, and I was like, oh my God. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
That made me feel so fucking uncomfortable. And I've fucking skinned rabbits in my time. I've skinned deer and snakes even. But that shit was like, wow. Especially being a pet bunny owner. It just felt
That's
so...
a brutal one.
That was...
Oh, God.
That was the Goblin Slayer of skinning
Cover your
animation.
ears, life. You don't want to hear this. So basically what happens, for those that don't want to go YouTube and quick look at it right now, the skinning animation for the deer is like 20, 30, 40 seconds long. The rabbit, about 4 seconds.
Yeah.
He picks the fucking rabbit up, grabs something, I don't fucking know, his ears or his tail, I don't know, and goes, whoop, and rips the whole fucking skin off in one go.
Yeah, it's like
Don't
from the neck
laugh,
down or
Adam. I, who am a grown man and have seen way worse shit in my life than that, felt physically uncomfortable at how, like, there's a snap to it. There's sound effects as well. That just,
That's about how fast you skin a chicken.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that was brutal. I wasn't expecting that. After, the slow cutting, methodical cutting of the hide off the deer.
It's the fucking Bob Ross of skinning. He's like, well, it's a nice old knife down the deer's stomach.
All he's got to do is just take the little zipper off the back and help Mr. Rabbit out of his clothes. For going off the Bugs Bunny cartoons, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, so the skinning animations, that's part of it being slow. Just another thing that slows down the game.
Not that one, though.
No, not that one. I think that...
If they could just do that for the horse, we'd be great.
I think that's probably... I'd be curious to actually time it and see if that's faster than the duck one. Or the turkey. One of them, he literally just like rips out its heart or something, and then throws that, or wraps that up and puts it in his pouch and throws the rest of the body on the ground.
Again,
what a
Cowboy
bastard.
Simulator, folks.
What a fucking bastard.
Welcome. Well, it's the cowboy way.
He's like, yep, I just wanted the heart. The rest of this shit can rot.
So, alright, let me check it off. I actually did talk about the fast travel, so that's another mark I've already talked about. No auto run, the cinematic. Okay. So actually 2 more things on the bad list. I only got 3 more on my list.
Okay.
So, control issues. I don't really have an issue with how complicated it is, so to speak. I don't really have that problem. My issue is certain buttons being where they are. For example, left trigger allows you to target someone and like you get sub prompts to talk to them. That's how you walk around and greet everybody you walk by, which is another silly concept I can talk about in a minute with the honor system. But so you hold the trigger and you get your prompts, which is how you do most of your social interaction, period. You have to target them and press the button, unless it's in a cutscene and you get a different type of prompt. However, that is also your aim button. So if you have a weapon out by mistake, you will aim at them. If you're not paying attention and press buttons too fast, you will shoot them or melee them instead of talking to them. I haven't done this personally, but I watched a streamer who was playing. They went to talk to someone and shot them.
That's mighty unneighborly.
And that just completely screwed up what they were trying to do. And it's not a good experience to have. And that's why I've been very careful. I hit the trigger and I wait. I wait until I clearly see the on-screen prompt saying, press square to talk, press circle to talk, whatever the prompt I'm choosing is.
It sounds like a thing that would definitely mess up your quest if you were to just buck off and shoot the quest giver.
Yeah. So overall, I'm okay with complexity. I get it. In a game like this, you're going to have it. But there could have been some smarter layout decisions. again, not a deal breaker, just one of those things you should think about. Graphical glitches.
Hold on real quick. I'm
Okay.
so sorry. I was up grabbing some fucking water and I couldn't get to the mic quick enough. I wanted to make a point on what we were just talking about.
Okay.
So this was something that was brought up. I forget who, kind of giving up on remembering who brings up all these good points, but they were talking about, okay, so how often does quick save happen? And they were saying, well, not really a lot.
Oh, that's
and
another point on my list. Hold on.
I tell you, okay, so I could totally get how this is a negative thing. Using stories like ones you just brought up and other ones I've heard where somebody was in a quest line, side or main, and they did something, either shot the person, shot a bystander, got wanted, got something, fucked it up. And it's like, yeah, if you do this, you pretty much just got to live with it. You got to follow through with it. You either got to go pay a bounty off or get the fuck out of Dodge and change your outfits or something. It's not oh man, I did this thing and I'll just quick save and fix everything. Nope, you need to fix it. Like fix it. Again, they're really, really knuckling down on this simulation aspect. I can see the merits of it. I can also see the faults of it.
Yeah. To touch on that, I had a situation where I was doing a bounty hunt, and the person could be brought in dead or alive. So it literally didn't matter if I killed them. Every other one prior to that had been bringing alive. I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to bring in this guy alive. So I walk up to the person. He's shooting at me, by the way. So I have to do this very quick. So I don't have time to be very careful with what I'm doing. So despite what I just said about being careful with my button presses, sometimes you don't have a choice. So I walk up. He's around the corner. I jump around real quick, switch my weapon bar to melee, right to my fist. Press the button to punch him. I stab him. The weapon bar had barely gone down to the bottom right and went to the knife. So I shanked this guy instead of just punching him down so I could tie him up.
That'll teach him a lesson.
Wow.
I was like, all right. So I reloaded my save and did
flipped
it again.
him over and skinned the carcass.
So it was very frustrating, and I reloaded my save, the autosave, went in. I had to do the whole thing over because it doesn't let you save after a certain point. Did the same exact thing. So I was like, all right, I give up.
I remember Brandon Jones talking about how gun cautious this entire world is. Like he said, he was talking about he was he had his horse parked somewhere, strung up somewhere or whatever, and he was adjusting the bags on his saddle. And he was adjusting the guns, and the people around him were like, "Hey, what's?" He was like, "Whoa, calm down! I'm literally just adjusting my guns and my holsters." But they're so like the minute that your character's hand goes to a gun, everybody starts kind of be a little cautious, a little skittish,
So
a little freaking out a little bit.
A related story to that, I accidentally stole someone's wagon.
How do you accidentally steal?
So here's what happened. All right, I'm off. My horse is out in BFE, too far for me to call. I'm like, all right, I don't want to. I'm playing a honorable playthrough. My bar is almost maxed out. I'll be so glad when it is because it is such a struggle now to keep it from going down with all the main quest stuff and whatnot. Which, thankfully, main quest stuff typically doesn't impact it, but you may have to do stuff on the side that doesn't technically count, so it still makes it a negative interaction or something, or accidentally do negative interactions like in this case. So I'm out in BFE, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to steal a horse or anything like that, because that's a negative thing. I'm an honorable cowboy assassin guy. So there's a cart passing by. I'm like, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I hopped up on the back, just stood there, no weapons out, my mask off. I actually greeted the guy. I was like, hey. And he kept going. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll hop off, a mile down the road and I'll be good. I'll be near enough to a stable. I can move on with my life and be done. Then the driver starts getting agitated. I pull up the prompt. I'm like, hey, don't worry, dude. All is good. You have the diffuse option. Mm-hmm. He then jumps off the cart. I'm like, all right, I guess I scared him off. And then I saw the little pop-up for the negative honor, and I became wanted for vehicle theft.
Wow.
I just wanted a ride.
Turns out that, if somebody's got a truck and you jump up in the back, people get pissed off about that kind of shit.
I mean, they think you're stealing the vehicle, Yeah. Even though I say, hey, I just need a ride, If you want me off that bad, just say so, and I would have gotten off. But he didn't say, like, get off my car. He's like, hey. And then he left, and I got accused of stealing it.
Speaking of wanted levels and bounties, I heard another story where somebody was, they were changing their mask because apparently that plays kind of like in the first Redemption. It plays a part where, like, if you walk in somewhere and you try to rob them with no mask, you get wanted right away because they can recognize you, but you can use a mask to, a fucking bandana on your mouth, basically, to subvert that. Well, that doesn't work in this game. So somebody went in somewhere, they killed somebody, they went to another town, they had a mask, they went to another town, had a or they kept changing masks or something. But they kept being wanted. And he could not figure out how. And he figured out what it was is that he hadn't changed his clothes in like hours of gameplay. So they weren't recognize him by his face because he always had the mask on. They recognize him by his fucking clothes. It's like, wow.
Damn.
All in, baby. All in this game is.
Yeah. So I'm going to combine 2 points because you did bring up the saves, and that kind of brings me to an issue, a big issue I have right now with the game. So this one on my list is titled Horse Death. So what happened is I was on a mission. I believe it wasn't a main story mission, it was a side quest, but it requires me to get on a train. I got on the train. The train was moving. I got on it and proceeded to do the side quest. When I ended the side quest, a little pop-up said, your saddle is on the ground somewhere. So your saddle doesn't get on the ground unless your horse is dead and it cannot be revived. At some point, either the train ran over my horse, the horse fell off a cliff next to the train tracks, or something happened, so my horse died, and I had no idea.
Wow.
And this is the horse, a super good horse that I believe was one of the pre-order bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, that's annoying. I'll go reload my save. I reload the last autosave, and it's after the mission was complete with my horse dead. The game only keeps one autosave.
One.
Ow.
Yep, one. So that horse is dead for eternity. Fortunately, I was able to buy just today one that was actually better. I was using essentially the starter horse until then. So I've got an even better horse now, but still, that was so good. And it maxed out stats. It was maxed out health, and almost maxed out stamina for me riding it so much. Whatever the friendship meter, whatever the horse relationship meter is, was maxed on it, which isn't hard to do. But it was there. So I was good with this horse. It was great. I could sprint everywhere I went and never had to worry about stamina because it was so so skilled up. Similar to what we're talking about with Deadeye, eventually it'll last longer. This horse's stamina was through the roof. Mm-hmm. So, but that horse is now permanently dead on the save.
Apparently it didn't have enough health to survive whatever you did to it.
It must have been brutal because that horse survived some crap. I threw him off cliffs over and over, and he'd get right back up.
Wow.
I did have horse revives with me, so if I had seen it happen, I would have jumped off the train, failed the side quest, and revived him. But I never got a prompt that I saw saying that it died. And I hadn't done a manual save since the night before, So I would have lost like 5 hours of gameplay if I went back to it.
Yeah.
And that was all just the travel from the next town. They were like, go do this train. 5 hours later, you're at the train.
Yeah, and speaking of trains, a pro tip for people playing the game, instead of following roads wherever you go or even trying to cut across, because I was talking about how bad the terrain can be at times, look at your map and see if there's a train track that runs to that area. More often than not, it'll be a straighter shot than the road will be. And you don't have to worry about terrain because the railroad has bridges and stuff. So
you don't have to worry about terrain. You just have to worry about the train.
I've yet to have a train come while I was on the track riding. I've only seen the train at train stops in cities, and that's typically only A, as part of a mission, or B, I use the train to fast travel there.
Huh.
So there aren't a lot of trains in the wild from what I can see. I think, like, if you want to rob a train and stuff, I think you probably have to wait at the train station for one to pop up. But seeing them in between places is less likely, based on my experience so far. The last point, and when I started talking about earlier, was graphical glitches. At first, when I wrote this, it was just like the occasional floating items and stuff like that. But there have been some other weirder ones, like people teleporting or moving weird, or things not quite being right. I should have taken some sub notes on that one because I can't remember the details. And to go back to controls real quick, the other issue I have with controls is when you are targeting something, it can be very difficult to target. You have to be looking at it, you have to be standing at the right angle, and it doesn't sometimes make any sense how to actually get the prompt to pick up an item or open a container or something like that. And with the targeting people also is weird sometimes. Like if there's a person that gives a side quest or something, or has something going on where they have sub prompts that they want you to hit or something, if you turn away from them, your back is to them, you look at someone else, you target them, it will spin you around and target that person. Now, when you're like 6 feet away from them and 1 feet away from the other person.
I actually heard something about this one. I was wondering if you had that problem, and I was going to say something about it. I did. The only thing I've ever watched on Dead Red 2 was a little 5-minute video I found on YouTube. They did, during the course of this thing, figure something out. They figured two things out. One, that you could activate the Deadeye without drawing your gun. There was a way to do it. And the other one was that you could use the right stick to bump through people when you were
doesn't work
targeting.
in what I'm talking about.
No?
It disables that capability. It locks onto them so hard. Yeah. That the hitting the right stick, that was great when I figured that out as well. And that's a great tip for people. If you're trying to target someone and there's like a crowd, hit the right stick. Sometimes it'll skip people and you have to go back. It's not perfect, but it's such a great feature. But when I'm talking about where it actually spins you around and locks you on the person, hitting left and right on the right stick won't work. It may in some cases, but like in the case I'm talking about, there's literally nobody else that's looking at it. For left and right to work, they have to be on your screen, I believe.
Huh.
So in this case, it was literally spinning me around to face the person, so nobody else was in my field of vision. I also think I tried it while people were in the screen, and it didn't work, but I have to go back and double check to test that. But I do know that when they were the only one on my screen, it was useless.
Wow. Sounds like something they'll eventually patch out, but it's probably really freaking annoying right now.
Yeah, it was really annoying me earlier. That's why I kind of came back to me just now, because it's one of the last things I did was trying to talk to someone, and it kept spinning me, and I'm like, all right, I'll just not talk to anybody and walk across the camp and wait for someone to come to me, get away from that NPC. So in closing, way overrated. I do have more to say, like it's not that impressive overall for me as a game. It's another open world game. Like I said, the world looks good. Character models aren't the best. Some cases better than others. But it's just... And that's kind of why I asked for that source on that quote, Michael, because you talked about all the things you could do, but really there's not that much to do. And there's not that much to do that... Or I don't really think there's anything you can do in that game that you can't do in other games, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't bring anything new to the table. Yeah, there's like 5 different mini games you could play. So what? I can do that in Assassin's Creed. I can do that in some of it in Fallout.
Yeah.
But can you skin a rabbit?
Other games.
You can skin a rabbit?
I mean, Assassin's Creed games, you could hunt, you know, in the older ones, and they got fried for having similar animations that Red Dead 2 has with skinning.
Damn.
You know?
So to give some context and to make true on what I mentioned earlier, so to give the quote, this quote was made by Brandon Jones, part of the Easy Allies crew. Again, if you haven't checked out Easy Allies, I recommend you do. Great bunch of people. In their... It was an episode of Frame Trap, which is another. They have about 3, if not 4 different podcasts they do. And in the so we're talking October 1st or 2nd ish time frame of Frame Trap, they did more heavy talk on Red Dead Redemption 2. And Brandon Jones said, and I quote, "I've played few games in my 39 years of life that have more in it than Red Dead Redemption 2. And I'll tell you, Chris, what I think he was getting at here, and you can probably draw this as well whenever you do check the episode out. I think what he meant was immersion as far as different things. You know that feeling we got when we played Breath of the Wild, how it was like there was this to do, that to do. There was all these little nuances that it wasn't just gameplay that we were wrapped up in. It was just the little things, the little extra details. I think that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stories that I've heard from other people, and especially from him, has been just the little details, all the time and effort that went into making this game. And no, I'm not talking about the misquoted 100 hours work week thing. I was joking earlier, by the way. But as with any AAA title, I know a lot of time and a lot of detail, and a lot of attention went into this game.
Sure.
But I've heard all these little bitty stories that they just bring back memories of playing Breath of the Wild. Like he said, there was one point he was doing a story where he was riding his horse next to somebody riding a wagon. This lady was reading a letter, and he pulled his horse up to the wagon and got in a closer view, and he could read the letter. She was actually reading what was actually written on the paper. Just little details like that, like finding people in town. And he's like, I was in one town, and I accidentally, aggressively bumped into somebody in this town, and that, like in GTA 5, that caused them to stop in their tracks, turn around, and kind of be like, "What's up, bruh?" And I de-escalated the thing, and we went on. And I met that guy again in 2 towns over at a train station. He was getting on a train. So, number one, this shows more that this game has its own life. A huge life engine is built into this game. So I saw this same exact guy. I recognized him by something, and he gave me another fucking look. Like, yeah, I know you. I remember that. Remember you being an asshole last time I saw you. That is the kind of stuff that he was talking about.
Yeah, and
so
I do want to go back and listen to it to get the full context, but even with your explanation of stuff, I still don't agree. The game is not as life tracking as it makes it sound. There's a lot of random generation behind it, which is good.
Yeah.
It gives a lot of variety, but it's not this person walked from here to there. It's more likely that NPC just happened to be randomly generated to be there at that time. There wasn't
Yeah,
some
it
path
could
from
be.
A to B to get there.
I'm sure you and I can see the lines. I'm sure we can see the strings, but from what I'm seeing, there's a lot of time went into adding little life details, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Not saying that that's going to blow my mind, but that's what I'm gathering from. That's my big. That is the thing that's made me question whether I want to get this game or not. From is one, the story, and two, that the attention to detail, the little details.
It's late 2018. Takes a lot to impress us these days.
One of the conclusions I came to, and similar to what you just said, Adam, is one of the conclusions I've come to is that this game did not release when it should have. If it released a year ago, I would probably be more impressed. But I just played Assassin's Creed. I've just played I played Spider-Man, which was an amazing world. And Assassin's Creed, they've made so many improvements on the world. So all the minor details, you're talking about, always looking at the details the devs add into a game. And Red Dead does have a lot of details. But it's nothing new at this point. Yeah. It's nothing innovative at this point.
You had GTA 5, you had The Witcher 3, and then all your other open world games took note of those two, and they said, what can we do better? There's the bar. They incrementally jumped over it, and this one just didn't know what it was up
that's
against.
the thing. I don't think Red Dead 2 jumps over any of the bars. That's my problem.
It may have gone, maybe a year ago's bar.
Yes, but mechanically, I don't think they jumped any real bars.
Gotcha.
The one of the other things, going back to the randomly generated type thing, that is kind of, I get it, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying that they made it possible. So there are random events in the world, of course, and usually they're different. But I ran into an event last week when I first started playing, first probably 10 hours of the game, right? Where there's this guy on the side of the road and he had just got bitten by a snake. And you have an option to suck the venom out or give him a healing potion or healing tonic. And I gave him the healing tonic, and later on, you run into him and he rewards you for it in town. Awesome. Mm-hmm. That was a great little interaction. Gotta love the little, result of your actions, the consequences of your actions. In this case, it was positive. I literally got something for helping him. And it was a couple hours later in the game before I saw him again in town. Mm-hmm. However, I was playing yesterday or the day before, ran into a different guy, same exact scenario. Oh, I have a snake bite. Okay. Well, great. It's
Did
one
you suck
thing
the
for
poison
them to
out this time?
No. I am a tonic. I'm not going to suck poison out.
He finds you down like, hey, there's that guy that sucked my poison out.
And it was the same exact scenario. I ran into him in town 2 hours later, or roughly, and I got a similar reward. And I'm like, okay, I understand repeating like carriage robberies, prisoner escapes. These things happen over and over. But to have two guys in almost the same exact scenario, the biggest difference was their character. I would say the only difference was their character model. The dialogue was, I want to say, almost identical.
Wow.
Too.
Damn.
So I was like, okay, now you've killed this. That's killed part of my immersion.
Different voice actor at least?
Do what?
Different voice actor at least?
I don't know. Which is kind of interesting because one of them was white, one of them was black, so I had to be very curious to go back and listen to see if they used the same person for both.
And coming from Spider-Man, where, same actor, but they took the time. We're talking Naughty Dog versus fucking Rockstar. $1 billion Grand Theft Auto 5 selling Rockstar. Where Spider-Man came along and said, we have recorded the entirety of 2 different dialogues to simulate whether he's walking or whether he's engaged in an activity. To hear you say that about the same scenario having pretty much the same dialogue, Rockstar, come on, you let Naughty Dog beat you? Come on.
So, and I want to reiterate that the story of this game is great. I'm enjoying it. The characters are amazing. The mechanics are what's killing it for me.
damn.
Yeah.
And why it will not be on my Game of the Year list at all.
It's understandable, man. It's like I said, man. It seems very divisive. I'm using Brandon Jones as an example, but that's like using me for a frame of reference for talking about a Mega Man game. Like, he loves the Red Dead franchise. He was super highly anticipating this game, and he, like many, are singing its praises, but there are many who also like this franchise and are singing its negatives. So,
see, I'm one of the guys that, I was listening to this and I was really hyped for this game, but now I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. When I get it, I'm going to be like,
No, and let me rephrase my last statement. It won't be on any of my Game of the Year lists unless the story blows my mind.
Yeah, that is true.
Because a story will make a game, regardless of mechanics.
Right. Yeah. Well, good, man. I guess that's it for your week, huh?
Yeah.
All right, now, moving on to today's topic.
That's fine.
We haven't even done Michael's week.
No, today's topic. This is obviously a banter episode, so we'll go ahead and mark that down when we're making the titles and shit. But my week actually is very fortunate for you, Chris, and for us and the audience. I know we're running along on time, but it's okay because my week is going to be fairly short. As of last week, I told everybody that the cat's out of the bag. I'm playing through Persona 5 again. Mm-hmm. That is and I'm digitally, imaginarily pointing a fucking finger directly at you, Adam. Uh-oh. I played Persona 5 for over 270 fucking hours. I'm playing through it again. If you need a reason to buy a PlayStation 4, it don't even have to be a Pro. You have 3: God of War, Persona, and Bloodborne. And Chris, I think there's a 4th, isn't there? I think I'm forgetting one. Either way.
All right. Well, if they come out with a PS4 classic and they put Persona 5 on it,
get out of my face,
and my grandma buys it for me for Christmas.
Yeah, sure. So I'm playing through Persona 5 again. I unfortunately don't have a whole lot to add to that, folks. I mean, we've take a listen back in one of our previous episodes. Chris and I both went to a spoiler-free and a major long spoiler discussion on the entirety of Persona 5. I will tell you now that even though I've already played that game, this is just reiterating again what I said on the last episode. I'm still enjoying it. I already know the story beats. I already know what's coming. I already know the twists and the turns, and I'm still enjoying this game. I'm infiltrating. Oh Lord, Chris, help me. I'm drawing a blank. My own love interest. Shit.
So is the F?
Futaba. Yeah, I'm infiltrating her palace right now.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I'm close to. I don't even think I'm even halfway through, and I am barreling through this game now because one, I've already know after having played 3 Personas in a row, I've got the system down to a science. I'm also using a guide because I'm specifically trying to platinum this game. I think I'm doing pretty good progress on that end. Just further appreciating all the love that went into making this game. Further appreciating everything that makes this game so good. I love it. I enjoy it. And it's still treating me good. I've not played any other game this entire week, so sorry, no new updates on that end. However, there are a couple things I did want to talk about, non-gaming related. I did finish the Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House, and as I mentioned last time, this is very good. I highly recommend it, and I will tell you that now that I have finished it, I further highly recommend it. Again, this is a slow burn series. This is not strictly a jump scare, holy shit, shake the screen horror in any way, shape, or form. It deals more with the psychology and the aftermath of something being haunted and the trauma that a family goes through. The story wraps up very nicely. I was slightly confused for a second until everything clicked into place. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the next season plays out. I'm assuming another family is going to fall victim to this house, basically. Very good series. And again, this is coming from somebody that does not watch TV series. recommend it if you're a horror fan. If the idea of haunted houses intrigues you in any way, shape, or form, check it out. That's the positive, Chris. Because you also remember I said that my wife wanted to see Venom, in the theater, and I did not, because again, when I watched the trailers of Venom, I could see this shit a mile away, and yeah, my feelings were justified when I went to see the movie. So we went and saw it, and she enjoyed it. She had a good time with it. I unfortunately just did not. I tried to take my mind out of what I knew about Venom. I tried to treat the movie as a movie. It's just really hard to do. It really is, because aside from the aesthetics, aside from the physical look of Venom, this is not the Venom that I know. And even if it wasn't, I don't like this Venom character at all. He likes to cuss a lot, and I'm not trying to be a prude. You'd understand if you watched it. It's one of those, like, he calls Eddie Brock a pussy at one point, and it's just got the whole theater laughing, and I was like,
Here's one of the things that I wanted to talk about this movie a little bit too, but here's one of the really unfortunate things about this. That movie is a decent movie. Apparently, it's like a 6-7 out of 10 movie as far as just like popcorn film.
I can't.
As far as like just, the ability for somebody who doesn't know anything about the source material, just pick it up and watch it. It's an action movie. Yeah, okay, whatever. Done. It made enough money.
Bro mode, sure.
Yeah. Well, if you're not in I know about the MCU or I fucking care about
I'm not even
Venom.
talking that, man. I'm talking about just the way that the whole game is written, the way the character's written, the way all that comes into play. Oh,
well,
it's just,
according to the numbers.
It's written in a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's written in a very teenage-minded, that would be funny, that would be cool mentality.
Now, see, the thing where I'm getting this from is, if you look at the critical reviews of Venom, they're tanking. But if you look at the fan reviews, they're pretty good. Pretty good, moderately good. And what's unfortunate about that is that means that there's a possibility Sony may decide to go rogue with their Spider-Man Rogues Gallery that they still have a hold of. And this was being discussed on one of the video series I follow. And essentially the idea is that eventually Spider-Man, right now he's contractually, over there with Marvel, and he can't do anything he can't be in anything that's not MCU related. But as soon as he's out of that deal, he can. And this may give them a license to not, or a reason, something to hold in negotiations with Marvel, as far as, it's another bargaining chip in their corner. Say, okay, well, if you want this thing, if you want to see, Spider-Man do that, then we're going to put this Venom in.
Yeah.
Things like that. Or we're just going to, remove him from the MCU and do our own thing.
Yeah.
And that is
I don't
something
know.
to me that just goes, that is the real scary thing about that movie to me.
Yeah. I don't know. None of that. I have no news to follow on any of that. All I know is I have physically seen the movie, and I feel like now today that my opinion gets tossed out of the water, because I have an image, and I don't mean physical. I mean a image of Venom when I think of Venom, and the way that this Venom is in this movie is not that Venom. But I am 36 years old and have my own mind. I can still take that out of my mind and I can point out the flaws. I could stamp throughout this movie and go, that was not funny. That was dumb. That was dumb. That was not funny. That was trying to be funny. It was not. If I'm an asshole, then I'm an asshole. That's fine. But this movie did not land for me. Tom Hardy did the best with what he had. The animations when Venom actually came into play, sure, was good. The villain, whatever. Just the whole entire experience was very, I didn't have a good time with this at all. The only way, last point I'll make before I move on, because we really got to wrap this up. Speaking to you, Chris, and you, Adam, you may not be 100% factually accurately correct about the idea of Wolverine as a character, but you pretty much know what you're getting into when you read the comics of Wolverine, or you saw the X-Men Wolverine cartoon. You get this gruff, 5 o'clock shadow. Come on, bub. He doesn't take any shit. He's a hard ass. Imagine I put him in a movie and he was Adam Sandler Joke-a-thon. You would think that's pretty shitty. That's what I got with Venom. That's what I felt when I was watching this movie. I felt like they were trying to throw jokes in there when I don't remember Venom being that jokey. But even if I didn't, it was like, my nutsack, right? It's like, what the fuck? This shit's not funny. This is not funny. That's the humor they try to push. And it just did not land. So yeah. That's enough of that. I did it.
That makes me a little sad.
I took the bullet for you two. If you want to watch it and get your own opinions, sure, go right ahead. Fuck me. But I
took the bullet for you. And if you want to pick the gun up and shoot yourself, that's fine.
Go right ahead. But I'm telling you, I saw this shit in the trailer. I could see in the trailer that I was not going to like this. And I was right. And whether that precognition painted the movie for me, that's neither here nor there for me, because I tried to watch it and get what they were trying to put out, and I didn't like it. I think really for anything, that's really it for my week. The only small thing that happened very, very recently was I kind of got wound up in the whole Smash Ultimate Nintendo Direct announcement, and I'll tell you, on the outside, I was starting to buy into the rumor that Gino was going to make it into this game. I thought that was going to be a really cool tribute, especially with Cloud being here. Obviously, the Square and Nintendo love is around, but nope, that was a big old false rumor, because Gino, as far as we know, in this 74 character roster, Gino's not there. This fucking game is expansive, though. This is an incredibly massive game, and I wish I was more of a fan of this entire franchise, because, man, this is 74 characters with 5 more DLC characters coming down the road, too. That is phenomenally insane. But, yeah, I just want to throw that bit out there. That's it for my week. No topic this week, folks. This is just banter. Us talking with Adam, talking some PlayStation Classic, and Red Dead Redemption seems just fine to me. So yeah, anything else tonight before we wrap this up, gentlemen?
Yeah, I was gonna let this go, but then I found another piece of news that just popped up on my Facebook feed. The first thing I had written down was that as part of BlizzCon, when they were doing their opening ceremony thing, they had a little Destiny 2 talk. Destiny 2 is free on PC until the 18th.
Oh, shit.
And you get to keep the game after the 18th. You just have until the 18th to claim it. Of course, that's not going to include DLC, so you still have to pay for Forsaken, I'm sure. I haven't actually went and looked myself to add it to my account, my Blizzard account. But that's really cool. I mean, it's already been on the PS Plus games, so I'm not surprised. But it's still nice that they're doing it. The other thing that just popped up on my feed that is really interesting is Fallout 76. The beta is limited to people that pre-ordered the game, right? Well, they've extended it to where anybody who's participating can invite 3 people to play.
Nice.
Wow.
So they're expanding it beyond pre-orders now, which is amazing. Good on them.
That's
always good to hear.
Heard of a company doing that before.
It's like Christmas for game developers, huh? They're just giving shit away.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's gonna do it for us tonight, folks. A lot discussed tonight. A lot of games during our weeks. Venom somehow fucking managed to wind his way up on this podcast for better or for worse. But yeah, what do you think, audience, about the PlayStation Classic, the 20 games that got announced? I know everybody out there has their own mix of what they would like to see, what they wouldn't like to see, but we would like to know what you think about the top 20 games or the 20 games on the PlayStation Classic. In general, what are your thoughts on it? Are you going to get one? Why not? Why are you going to get one? What games did you want to take out and swap around? Anything of that nature we'd like to hear about. Have you, as well as majority of the audience out there, been playing, the world out there actually been playing Red Dead Redemption 2? What are your thoughts on it? This very slow, methodical cowboy simulator, as it's being called. Or any other games we've talked about recently. We love to hear any feedback from you in any way, shape, or form about anything, gaming, non-gaming. Just talk to us. We'll talk back. Promise you. There are many ways to get a hold of us. You can find us on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and search for End of Timecast. It should take you to us. It's maybe find how you found this episode right here. We have an email. You can email us at endoftimecast@gmail.com. That's endoftimecast@gmail.com. No funny numbers in there. Just spell it as you heard it. We have a Twitter page. You can tweet us, retweet us, and anything you want to do. Definitely want to specify, in case we do get to 2 billion people listening to us, we may not be able to respond to everybody. But as of this recording, as of this recording on early September 2018, we have a fairly small amount of people that email us, so you probably guaranteed to get your email read, discussed, all that good stuff. And just in general, again, one of the main reasons why we made this podcast from the get-go is to encourage discussion between fellow gamers and non-gamers, anime, comics, anything. We just love talking to people. Obviously, we love talking. That's why we do it for close to 4 hours at times. So thanks for listening. Adam, man, good to have you on, man. Thanks for making it. We love having you on, brother. We love talking. We need to get you on more.
Yeah, I'll try to get the extended mileage out of the podcast whenever I'm on. It's always 4 or 5 hours.
Oh yeah, we've already been sending texts back and forth. The next time we get you on here, we're doing a 6-hour episode, brother.
Shit.
You better get ready.
I'm down, man. Let's do it.
All right, thanks again for listening, everybody. We appreciate it, and send us some chat sometime. Send us some context and some contact, some talk. We love to do something with you as far as conversation goes. And until next time, I'm Michael.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Adam.
Good night, everybody.